Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the Game Informer Show. I'm your host, Ben Hansen, joined by Leo Vader. Out of the control room.
Oh, my God. He got out. He
Welcome,
broke free.
sir. But then who's in the control room? Nee. Oh, we also have Jeff Markiafava here.
Hey.
And Jeff Cork.
It's Kyle Hilliard.
He's
the one
room.
in the control room.
Yeah, he'll be on later. So we're covering a lot of games today. Mario plus Rabbids equals Love Forever. Absolver with Dan Tack coming up in a bit. Cork, you want to talk about Warrior All-Stars?
I do.
God bless you. Talking about Nindies.
Nindies.
The little Nindies from Nintendo. And then Yakuza Kiwami?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's talk all about that.
Okay.
And then we have some great emails. And back half of the show, we're talking about Gamescom. Look, some might say this is too late to the party. Everybody talked about it last week. But our reporters are back in town. Jeff Cork, you were in Germany. Elise Favis was in Germany.
Elise Favis.
That's right. JV Gwaltney, but he's not here because he's a quitter. But
Yes.
we're going to talk all about Gamescom and what it was actually like to be boots on the ground in that wonderful country.
Yeah.
Did you have a good time there?
Well, I'll save it for the podcast.
I can't wait. So also out this week that we're not going to quite talk about is Everybody's Golf, with which Matthew Cotto is still reviewing. He's too busy out playing golf. He can't talk about games on the podcast, right, Leo? Anyways, can anybody do a Cotto impersonation?
No, we're...
So here's his report on Everybody's Golf. Early impressions, he says, gameplay is the same as it is in the rest of the series.
That is terrible.
There aren't a lot of
No.
courses, so you'll be replaying them. Can run around the world and find gifts, coins, but it's not an open world game. Unlock ability to fish and ride a golf cart.
Have you ever met Kato?
I think it's a little bit like that.
No.
It's pretty good, guys.
It's funny because I saw people sharing video of Everybody's Golf, and the way you run around in the open world is like full Naruto with like hands going back, which is also how Mario runs in Mario Rabbids.
Hey,
Jeff,
real quick thing.
yeah.
Just to cut you off entirely.
Ruin the segue.
So I saw Kato playing, and he made a little custom character. Looked like a nice little guy with a shiner. He gave this guy a black eye.
I know, and I thought that the game was more interesting because I'm like, oh, can you get the crap beaten out of you in this golf game? And it's like, no, it turns
It's
out he
outlaw golf.
he just made a character that was bloodied for some reason.
So
He
there
had
you
a
go.
tortured soul.
All right, back to you, Fava.
Weird.
Jeff Markiafava, I was so excited to hear
Hey.
that you're going to be the one reviewing Mario and Rabbids.
Why?
Because you seem like the most level-headed, reasonable approach. Because if you're coming in as a huge Nintendo fanboy or like a huge XCOM fanboy, I could see you steering it in a direction. I could not think of a more
right.
reasonable person to review this game than Jeff Markiafava.
There you go.
What did you think of Mario plus Rabbids?
I loved it.
I love to hear that. What's your evolution? You started playing it, and then give me the roller coaster of emotions.
Well, I went into it, I guess, a little hopeful that it could be good because I have played some XCOM and enjoyed it, and I was looking forward to a different kind of take on that. You
Mhm.
don't get wacky tactical strategy turn-based games.
Codename
really?
Steam says hello, but yes, you're right.
All right. Yeah, well, I didn't play that one. Not the hugest Nintendo fan either, as you, I'm sure, already know.
Biggest Rabbids fan in the office.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Show 'em that tat.
I was wearing my T-shirts and bunny
Plunger on your
ears.
face.
But no, it takes a little while to get going to, kind of unlock some of the characters and go through all the different abilities and unlock your skill trees and stuff like that. But I was surprised by how different it actually ended up being from XCOM, kind of the feeling, even though they take a lot from it. If you have seen video of it, it looks like just the overlays and stuff like that, is clearly cribbing from XCOM.
Yeah.
But the feeling of it is a lot faster and you have a lot more mobility with your characters.
I'm very interested in this because, I'd seen videos here and there, and it's like, okay, I understand it's XCOM, but it really wasn't until I started playing it last night that it was this wave of, oh, I forgot that this feels almost exactly like XCOM. It's bizarre putting Mario basically in Overwatch mode, and then he's firing in slow motion as somebody's running. It was upsetting.
It looks better than XCOM, though. Like, you're not firing through walls.
That's exactly it. I think it's because the environments are simpler. I think the camera movement in this game is really, really well done, and it might even be cleaner than XCOM's, but I think that is just because of the complexity of XCOM's maps compared to this, or at least early on, it's just like, hey, here's 14 blocks that you hide behind, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
But as the game went on, you felt like it differed more and more.
Yeah, and I think it's mostly because of the movement mechanics and kind of the team combinations and stuff, the team jumps, and then the fact that you can attack enemies during the movement phase as well. You kind of do dash attacks and head stomps and those kind of things. And so that kind of just completely changes your view of movement, where I think in XCOM it's like, well, what's the closest cover that I can get behind in order to, take pot shots at these guys, whereas here it's like, well, okay, I have to be able to run straight up and hit these 3 people in a row, and then hopefully I can, retreat somewhere after that. But
So just basic tips. Vader, you've been playing a lot of it too. I'm sorry for calling you Vader.
That was weird.
That's
Jeff,
the first time it's ever happened.
It really is. So every move I should be trying to run over to enemies and slide into them and then run away?
I mean, I guess it depends on how you build your characters out, but the dash attacks are the ones that you can increase the power of quite a bit, and some of them are more helpful, like Rabid Luigi. His is a vampire attack, so when you hit them, you also leech enemy from them, and then that
Leech health?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Did I say enemy?
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
You leash an enema.
Yeah, but the status effect stays on them, so then everyone else can leech enemas off of them too for the rest of that turn. And so I didn't have a traditional medic in my makeup of my 3 characters. I would just use him first, and then everyone else can also grab health from whoever he hits first.
Are you saying you didn't want to have Peach Rabid with you the whole time?
She
The
seems
medic?
cool.
Yeah, she's the weakest of the Rabid characters.
Wow.
And so you always have to have one rabbit in your party, is that
At
right?
least one, yeah. But I ended up having 2 most of the time.
You
'cause-
wild lad.
I don't like that
They're
you
fun
have
at
to
parties,
have
too.
Mario with you the whole time.
Yeah, he's the weakest link in the.
You have
in
to have
terms of
Mario with you?
characters.
What's your problem, Leo? What do you have against Mario?
I just don't like being told to like Mario.
Right. What is this?
Well, you're one of those new age gamers that has no love for Mario, right?
Sure. No
Okay.
nostalgia for Mario.
no
yeah, I'll say
nostalgia.
that.
I love that. I love that perspective. And so you prefer not to have them. You want more Rabid Luigis in your party?
I just like I wish they would at least pretend that they have like a world full of interesting characters and it's not just like this little red nostalgia man that they have to parade out.
It is kind of upsetting to watch Mario get shot and die. And I realize, I don't know why it has an impact on me, because I've watched Mario die, especially when I played you, of course, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. But for some reason, seeing him get shot to death and dying on a battlefield, I know it's just a little sparkles and dizzy around his head, but it's still upsetting to see.
He pulls out the picture of Peach that she's autographed and looks at it as his eyes flutter closed.
Yeah, it's covered in blood. He's trying to hand it to somebody like Saving Private Ryan.
Oh.
It is also weird just to have them running around with guns, though. Too. That was the first thing that stood out to me. Of
What do they call them? Like, I know paintball people get really mad.
Blocks is what they call them. It's interesting.
yeah,
Murder machines.
Uzis.
Yeah.
I think they're just blasters or whatever. But there were times where I'd be like, okay, I'm going to run up to this guy because he only has a little bit of health, so I'm going to stand right next to him and shoot him point blank in the face with Mario's blaster.
Also, in the cutscene, Mario seems surprisingly into that gun when he first gets it. It's like when MacGruber first uses a gun in the movie. He's like, holy crap, this is awesome. Why have I been jumping on enemies this entire time? This makes no sense.
Throwing fire from my hands when I could use a gun.
That opening video, Fava, I'm sure you've played so much of this game, it was a lifetime ago, but seeing it last night for the first time, very confusing, because not only are they combining the world of Mario and Rabbids together, but technically there's a third universe, which in theory is our human universe, but it's within the Ubisoft universe. So maybe it could be the same world as Assassin's Creed or The Division. I'm sure Abstergo, there's some Easter egg in there somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's a human being that's basically a Palmer Luckey type, right? Where it makes some elaborate gun that can combine 2 different universes.
You're better off not knowing anything about them.
Right. I saw some pretty disturbing pamphlets and paperwork on the desk, but that's just fine. And then Rabbids warp in magically.
From the time machine, yeah.
And so is that common Rabbids lore that they have a time machine?
I think so.
Okay. You didn't.
I think they
I
went
think
and got farted on by a dinosaur at one point.
Yeah. That's not far off, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they had one game where it was just like, hey, let's take them through time and they'll meet Napoleon or whatever.
Okay.
Crap like that.
So then the premise, they try and logic away this entire fusion, but I'm still confused because they show up, this gun that can combine any 2 objects, then combines Rabbids and Mario, then they are warped to the Mushroom Kingdom, but then a vortex appears in the Mushroom Kingdom, all the Mario characters get sucked into it, and so then you'd think they'd be in a separate dimension yet, but they still explain it as it being the Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I don't know if it's interesting, but it is a much more convoluted setup for like just put the two cute, funny things together and let's get it over with here.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff with that about like this object was tiny in our world, but now it's giant here. What's up with that? I wish we brought a burrito through, is the joke they make. So that was pretty good.
Burrito joke.
What do you
That
think
kind of makes it all worthwhile.
Do you think it's funny overall, Jeff? Were you charmed? Did you laugh ever?
Yeah, there's some stuff in there. There's one boss fight that I don't want to spoil, but that had me chuckling a little. I think it's ultimately just a fun tone,
Yeah.
and very lighthearted, and I appreciated that.
And again, it's just some slapstick comedy. Yeah, there's a couple butt jokes in the beginning, but again, I don't understand why the industry hates Rabbids games so much. The only thing I can possibly figure is maybe just reviewers that were forced to review Rabbids game after Rabbids game on the Wii and learned to hate it, and then that opinion filters down.
Yeah, it's the internet. Anything that some people find cute is going to just repulse everyone else.
It's also, I mean, I'm not super bothered by it. I like this game if I haven't said anything good about it so far. But it really is kind of in your face with the Rabbids. I can see how it would get on your nerves. Like it'll constantly tear the camera away to go look at some slapstick thing the Rabbids are doing. It doesn't feel very optional. It feels like it's trying to make the Rabbids work, which keep on trying. Ubisoft, do your best.
Like within cutscenes and whatnot?
Yeah.
Also, it's interesting. It's like correct me if I'm wrong, but you never actually control Mario in this game. It's like the Ubisoft condom. You can get close. You can never quite touch Mario, right? Because you're just controlling Beepo, the little Roomba going around, right?
Uh-huh.
Right.
It's an odd touch.
Yeah.
But I think it works
Sure.
out well. Like, it's a brilliant idea to have, like XCOM 2, there's like loot on the battlefield and whatnot, right? And with this, there's naturally coins everywhere. And so you think like, okay, strategically, I have to work my way over there and take up the time. But it's like, no, you just have a little cursor, which is the Roomba thing, and you can just run it over there and collect them all, and it won't cost you a single thing.
Yeah.
It seems like a much easier, more approachable route overall.
Yeah.
Does this game get hard?
It does. I didn't have any super hard problems. There were a couple matches that I had to do a couple times but ultimately I just quit out of them. Like after you lose a character, it's like, oh, this is going downhill, whatever, I'll just restart it.
Because there's no permadeath, right?
Yes, and but and that's another thing that kind of changes the feeling of it, and that I appreciated is if you lose a match, you just restart it, and there's no kind of penalty to it. And the nice thing about that is that means you can actually experiment and be a little riskier when you're moving your characters around. You don't have to think, oh, I spent 20 hours upgrading this character, I don't want to lose him on this one battle, doing something stupid. But here you can just kind of run into it and see if it works, or rebuild your skill trees. You can respec at any time.
Plus, all the skill points you get go to every character you have.
Yeah.
So every character is leveling at the same rate, so you can switch in and out and experiment.
Yeah, you don't have to worry
easily.
about, well, I haven't been using this character, so he's going to be underpowered. Or
I feel like you're tiptoeing up to this point. Is there a world where you got more enjoyment out of this game than in any of the most recent XCOM games?
It's hard to say because I never completed one of the modern XCOM games,
Okay.
but we did that Rabbids and XCOM mashup yesterday.
There's a video on the site. Check it out. It's lovely.
And Reeves was kind of playing through a normal match, and the entire time I just thought, this is really slow compared to what I had just played through. Spent so much time on. And
Yeah,
so
and it
it's
does
kind of weird.
It does feel so dynamic, just having more. What's the word I'm looking for? More of like combos where you can run and slide and then jump over there, and having the camera adapt to it. It does feel really good at times to play. Shockingly good.
Yeah.
Also, what do you think about like the overworld, if you want to call it that, in between battle areas?
Oh yeah, those were the biggest downside to the game for me. It's they have puzzles in there, which would have been great if the puzzles were interesting, but they're really just kind of like pushing blocks around or pressing switches to change paths and things like that, and that never was really engaging. There was never a puzzle where I was like, oh, that was cool, I'm glad I figured that out. And the rewards aren't super great for most of them either.
And it seems like, if you find a little bonus area, it's like, hey, here's a 3D model. Everyone's favorite thing. You can go rotate it if you want back home.
Occasionally you'll get a new weapon, or you'll get some ability orbs, which are your skill points. And, those are at least worth something. But
That's what I'm always hoping for. It's ability orbs.
Yeah,
At the end of every
praying
single puzzle.
Please, for the love of God. What does the story get interesting at the end? In the beginning, there are a couple weird teases where you're getting emails from the biggest fan in the world. I have no idea who that could possibly be. Am I not enough of a Mario?
I thought I
fan?
missed it. Who is FB?
It's a secret that you'll you'll learn and you'll just be blown away.
Is
by
it fun?
Bowser?
No,
Fun
it's-
Bowser?
It's
Fabbit Bowser.
It's-
Fight Bowser.
it's just goofy and
It's
doesn't-
goofy?
It's dumb.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everything's dumb, but it's just the progression
Everything's
actually builds out in a way where you were compelled to keep playing.
Yeah, yeah. The gameplay stayed engaging throughout. The difficulty curve was good for the most part. I hit a couple patches, and then they unlocked these ultimate challenges at the end. I think there are 4. It's kind of like in the virtual world style. You may have done a couple puzzles like that already.
Yeah.
They're not interesting. There's not an interesting aesthetic to the battlegrounds for that ones, but they just throw tons of the mid bosses and bosses from the main into these really huge fights, and that's kind of when I realized like the combat and all the abilities and you have everything really gives you a lot of leeway, and you can actually get a lot out of it.
Speaking of mid boss, the music for the mid bosses is
It's
so
crazy.
good.
It is so good.
It's all Grant Kirkhope, friend of the show, composer for GoldenEye, Perfect Dark. I mean, some of the best, but specifically Banjo-Kazooie. Like, the entire soundtrack sounds very Banjo-Kazooie, and especially those mid-boss encounters. It's uncanny.
Yeah.
But just an overall delight. They have, like, music from Mario 64 when you're around Peach's Castle, which is kind of like the hub area where you have different shops and whatnot to go travel to. I want, not that you aren't this person, Jeffem, I want, like, a strategy game expert to talk to me just about how it feels different than XCOM in relation to not having hit percentages like XCOM.
Yeah.
Or if they are there, well, I guess it's either 50% or 100%.
Yes,
and
or
that's
0%.
it.
Yeah.
Right. It's so crazy just to boil that all down to 3 states,
Yeah.
and it really warps your mind when you're used to XCOM about like, well, if I get closer, no percentage is going up. I don't think.
Yeah, and that almost gives it more of a puzzly feel in some ways of trying to figure out, where you're going to place your characters. There's never that question of if this is going to hit. So it's a different feeling, but
You definitely have to learn the rules of it, because there have been times where I'd be expecting I move to this place and I'll have a shot on this guy, but they're technically in full cover, and even though it looks like they can see him, they technically don't have line of sight.
it will pop up the percentage above them even as you're moving the icon around.
Okay.
But that will also take into account your secondary weapons, and so maybe you can hit them with the rocket launcher just because it does such a huge area of effect, damage, but you won't be able to get a normal shot with it. So
Interesting.
Overall, this game feels like a game that should have been prototyped and then never released. It's a happy accident that this thing was actually published and released out there. And there's a big marketing
I don't
push.
know how Nintendo signed off on that, because it's so different for them. And to just be, giving their character over, I guess they've done like, Mario and Sonic Olympics and crap like that.
They get it to every
That had a
publisher.
certain standard of quality.
Leo, so you're in love with this game? Madly, deeply, truly?
I like it a lot.
Are you a big XCOM guy?
I am. I
Okay.
expected it. I went into it kind of thinking, oh, this is going to be like easy XCOM, which is great because I want to scratch all those itches in my brain, but without, anything actually ever going wrong.
Naturally.
It's actually been substantially difficult, I found, at least in the second world, like going into it. You have to really play smart. It's like a simpler XCOM, but it's definitely not easy XCOM.
Are you switching into that easy mode? Because at the start of a lot of fights, it gives you the option to like, hey, want to just coast through this one?
I haven't
baby?
done that. I don't know if that
Yeah.
lessens your rewards.
I don't think it does, but all it does is it will replenish your health if you have done a couple battles before that, which your health gets replenished after like every 2 or 3 battles anyway.
Okay.
And then it will give you 50% more health.
Oh.
But the couple times I used it, I didn't see like a difference in how the enemies attack you or anything like that. So
Okay.
it just seems to be a little bit of a health boost.
It's just so cool. I understand everyone constantly says this about the Switch, but it's so nice to have, even if it's an XCOM clone, to have an XCOM in handheld you can take with you. It looks great on the small screen. I noticed you played a
Yeah, I
majority
played
of it. on
almost
that.
the entire thing that way. Yeah.
Why'd you do that?
Because it's perfectly fine, and it's just more comfortable to, sit on a couch and have it right in front of you.
Yeah.
And the controls and everything worked great for it. So
Cork, is there a world where you're going to play this game?
I watched Fava play the game, and it seemed like a perfectly fine game that I will never play.
Well,
it
I
seemed
think
like
that's your loss, man.
yeah.
I think it might be better than you think. I think it's easy to see it as
It
like, oh, Mario, XCOM, I get it. But it
Mhm.
turns out it's still a fun loop to go through over and over and over again.
Yeah.
What'd you end up giving it, Faba?
8.5.
Look at that. 8.5.
There
Leo,
you go.
anything else you want to get off your chest?
I gave it a 10 out of 10.
Oh, that's
There we
right.
go.
I forgot. Second
Overruled.
opinion. I'll be
Yep.
damned. How's your week been, Leo?
Really good. Thanks for asking.
What's it been like?
It's been fun doing a lot of Rabbids stuff, a lot of XCOM stuff. It's been a big week for those two titles.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Labor Day coming up, 3-day weekend, can't complain.
Hey, what are you doing over Labor Day?
I'm going to the fair with my family.
Oh my gosh, he's such a sweet guy. Well, for now, do you guys want to clap out of here and we'll get a whole new cast?
Heck
Is
yeah.
this an edit you do, or are you really going to teleport us out
No,
of here?
No,
We
this
warp
is
out
not
of
an
here.
edit. This is actually teleporting this time.
Cool.
You ready? All right, you want to clap on the count of 3? 1, 2, 3. Dan Tack, Kyle Hilliard, welcome to the podcast. Yeah!
Hello, it's good to be here.
Is that true, Dan?
Yes,
Do you still look forward to the podcast?
every week.
Hey, everybody. Absolver.
Oh, well, we're starting off hot.
Let's do it. Dan, it seems like the week has been you saying, hey, we could do a video on Absolver. And I said, do you
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Absolver? No. Is it interesting? No, not really.
Yeah, I think this is a game that came in with a lot of heat. Like, it's a good show game, right? People were very impressed with it. It shows. They get a little dip in there, dip their toes into this action combat. I hate to, I don't want to compare it to other action combat games, but
Sure.
there's some similarities to some other popular titles.
It's like Dark Souls.
Oh, but we can't do that. I'm really getting. Then we're going to get destroyed because people say, "Oh, they just make everything like Dark Souls." you
So
know?
Dark Souls.
Yeah, it's certainly got aspects of Dark Souls, but it's
There we
fighting,
go.
right? So you get a combat deck. You can be like, I'll do a left hook, then a kick, and your moves scale off of these aspects instead of like you get more dex. Maybe your spin kick does more damage.
Dex?
Dexterity
Oh,
Dexterity.
God, help me. Okay.
or strength will make your
games.
hammer punch hit harder.
Oh, my God. All right.
So the problem, the issues with the game are that it's, for one thing, if you're looking for a single player experience, this is not the game for you. It is over very quickly, almost sort of like a demo of a single player experience. I was shocked when it ended. I was like, okay, maybe I'll open up the real game when I kill this boss. But no, that's the end. And that turns you into an Absolver once you beat the game. And then you can just go around the world and do whatever you want.
Turn into an Absolver.
Right. So there's the world peacekeepers.
Okay.
So you can go around and interact with other players. That's the core of this game. So if you're looking for that, okay.
Sure.
But there's no real systems in play that make it meaningful in any way. So you're interacting with other players. You can beat them up. You can team up with them to beat up bosses. The world is intensely small. Like, I'm talking,
A tent.
it's just really small. It's three small zones, and there's not a whole lot to those zones. So there's not a whole lot to find or explore. And if you're into just beating up people for no reason, with no like real things behind it, then it might be enjoyable for a little bit. And I think it will be. It's one of those games that really catches you off guard because like off the onset, you're like, ooh, this is a really cool system.
Yeah.
They got the combat right in this game. That's cool. You learn other abilities by fighting other players and NPCs. So but you pick up like if a character keeps hitting you in the face with a spin punch, you will learn how to do that spin punch and you can add it to your array of skills. But in the end, it's like everything is there's just so little of anything. The world is small. The PvP frankly wears out its welcome pretty quick. It's like, all right, I walk into a zone. I can fight these guys. I could not fight these guys. There's nothing else to do.
So people that like it more than you are just falling in love with that fighting system, and that's just
I
the
think-
meat of it.
I think the game opens with some early enchantment moments when you think the game is a lot bigger than
Yeah.
it really is. It's very tiny. Like, I'm impressed with some of the things about the game, but it needs to be worked into an actual full-fledged game. This game feels so much like just a demo to me. Like it's a demo reel of where a great game could someday be.
Where's it coming from? Who made it?
Slow Clap. It's their first outing. Yeah.
Hmm.
Parisian developer.
Oh, really? I'll
Mhm.
be damned. There we go. Just like Ubisoft.
I think some of them are ex-Ubisoft. Yeah.
Oh.
So this does not feel like a game that does its thing and gets off the stage. Like you feel like it needs to be longer.
I feel like, yeah, I do. And I don't normally, a game being short is not necessarily a criticism, right?
yeah.
That could be cool. It just doesn't fit here. You
Okay.
you get on the stage and you're like, are we going to start the play?
Mhm.
And the lights never go on and the audience never comes. You're like, huh, well, this was a cool setup. I guess I'll leave now. Again, it sets the table. It does a really great job at that. And then you realize that none of the systems go anywhere and that you're not invested in doing anything.
Yeah.
It just trails off into this like, well, this was neat. It never goes anywhere.
What you end up giving it?
A 6.75. Not my
Oh.
best score.
I'll be damned. Well, speaking of fighting games, Cork, you seem tickled a little bit by this Warrior All Stars.
So here's the deal, Hanson.
Yeah, Omega Force, right?
Oh yeah. So a while ago they had, I think one of the Xbox games with gold was a Warriors Orochi 3, which is somehow slipped through and I hadn't played it, right? And
Uh-huh.
I was very tired and I was like, oh, I'll just download this. It's free if you're a member of Xbox Live, which it should be, right?
Sure.
So anyway, downloaded it, and I'm not a huge Dynasty Warriors guy, but something about this just really captivated me. It's like a mashup Muso style game with like characters from a bunch of different universes, and like so you got guys from like Samurai Warriors and Dynasty Warriors, and guys from Dead or Alive and
Dead or Alive?
and Ninja Gaiden and stuff like that.
What?
So anyway,
All your favorites.
it's like a big mashup. That's what
I
that
had
game
no
was
idea.
like.
Okay.
Okay, and then Warriors All Star is basically the same concept, where you just have stuff from the Koei Tecmo Vault, which, as we know, is never seems to end.
I think the Rabbids are in there at this point, right?
Exactly.
They also teleported in.
So it's basically just a mindless but engaging, like just killing lots of dudes. And if that's not enough, one of the like you pick your starting character, and I chose Nobunaga's Ambition, the old strategy games.
Oh yes, I'm familiar with it with Pokemon. Yeah,
Yes, well you can.
remember Pokemon Conquest?
Oh yeah, I reviewed it.
Yeah, apparently there's a version of it that where the historical figures are represented with cat-like versions, so you could play as a cat version of Nobunaga.
And he's exceptionally short, right? Like he's much shorter
He's
than the average.
much
character?
smaller than everyone else, and he's got like when he attacks, he's got like a rifle, and then like other cats appear with rifles and help. It's basically killing lots of dudes and upgrading characters. And if you're into like grindy games where you just have godlike powers and then it just only escalates from there, it's very satisfying.
What is it? Because you love Dead Rising as well. What is it about just wiping out hordes?
I have very little power in the real world, so anything that like amplifies my abilities, I'm all about.
Well, have you played other Muso games? Like Kyle, you reviewed Hyrule Warriors
Yeah,
and
Dragon
13
Quest
of those other ones.
Heroes.
Yeah, and I find that those are like, yeah, they're fine, but
Yeah.
something about the mashup formula. And to be clear, this Warriors All Star is a very horny game. Like
Oh.
every time they introduce a female character, it is like, oh, hello there. The camera like starts right on the chest, and then like, oh, incidentally, you have a face and you're from this game. But hey, what are you packing there, lady?
Jesus
It's
Christ.
super gross,
Yeah.
but at the same time, when you
Mindless.
actually start playing.
Here's
yeah.
what's frustrating, Cork.
What is
You're so
frustrating?
enticed by these free games on Xbox Live and whatnot.
However,
You could argue that you already also have any game you already own is technically free. Is that the way the economics work?
No, but go ahead.
once you've purchased it, you don't have
Yes.
to keep purchasing
That's it. That's it.
Okay.
You have Breath of the Wild sitting there. You have
Yeah.
Stardew Valley sitting there.
Uh-huh.
It's
Both of
uncanny
those I
that
have
you're like,
bought.
I have room in my schedule for this Muso game that'll get
Yes.
off Xbox Gold.
Yeah.
Why is that? What's wrong with you?
Well, to be fair, the Warriors Orochi 3 came out before Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, but still.
And also, to be fair, that game has not... I don't find it to be particularly engaging.
Breath of the Wild?
Yeah, it just
What's your
doesn't
deal?
grab me.
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
It's fine to use. I don't know. It just doesn't like suck me in, and I wish it did, because everyone in the office was having such a great time, and I like to have a great time, and
Yeah.
I want to feel the same things that all of you guys felt. And
It's
for whatever
so-
reason, it is just not clicking.
Did
That
you get off the
game-
plateau?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's all we got. I mean, that's what tickles us with pixie dust.
That's it.
Is getting off the plateau. Did you see the story? JV Gwaltney put it up on our site this week.
Mhm.
This weird thing that people found in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
What month
Cork
is it?
and I actually
August?
went over to his desk together and
Yeah.
looked at it.
Isn't it
We
bizarre? So
suffered through an interaction with JV just to see this.
there's a little crack in a wall, right? In
By
the
Lake
cave.
Hylia.
And if you climb inside of it,
Yes.
for some reason, all the shaders disappear.
Yeah, there's like
And
a
then
lighting effect.
Yeah, and then you can look at Link, and it's gross.
That's weird.
It
Yeah.
looks like Link looked in like the GameCube early render,
Mhm.
right, of
the
Twilight Princess.
Space World 2000 kind of.
Yeah,
It's kind of oiled up. It's glossy, like
Yes,
it's made out of
oiled.
plastic.
yeah. If you just
Yeah.
want to see the power of the shaders used in Breath of the Wild, which you probably forget how beautiful they are throughout the course of the game, just look this up, because I don't know enough about game development to understand why a certain area wouldn't give Link a shader. Like, why would it neutralize shaders in a certain geographical
I
region?
don't know. It's weird. It's funny that like 6 months after release, like that's one of the few bugs that have been found. There's like one little crack in a wall where it changes art style a little bit.
They should put a Korok up there as well.
Yeah.
Just it's so weird. It's odd. Anyways, Cork, Breath of the Wild is
So that's a
great.
good pitch for you to play this game, Cork. You can find a crack in a wall and
Yeah,
you
I
can
saw
see
it.
a
It was
different
pretty-
version.
Pretty good.
That's you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got. Kyle, Nindies,
Indies.
little bitty Nindies.
Yeah.
So this is Nintendo's cutesy name for hey, we're helping to publish indie games. Don't forget, we're going to call them Nindies, everybody.
It's no longer WiiWare.
We're also going to claim that a lot of these are exclusives when in fact they are far
Well,
from
that's
it.
a colossal amount of BS that we've talked about.
That language during I watched the presentation and just trying to determine with each game whether this was actually an indie exclusive or whether it was an exclusive launch or what was infuriating.
And then there were a couple that were just flat out wrong.
Really?
Yeah, I think they said Kentucky Route Zero was a console exclusive. It's not.
Are you kidding me?
It's coming to PS4 and Xbox One.
We
as
were yelling at them before about like the way they framed Stardew Valley and that JRPG, the
multiplayer
Battle
stuff,
Chasers
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
They've just been called out again and again, and they continue to do it with this presentation.
Yeah, that's like one example. Yeah, I mean they were very careful about the language for everything else, but that is one glaring thing that I was like, well, that was just.
So other than the lies, they were absolutely
That's
honest.
right.
Are you trying to excuse this, Kyle?
No,
this is
I'm the one that
colossal
brought it
bullshit.
up. No,
it's
absolutely
insane.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like that Microsoft thing at E3, Dan, for the rest of it of like,
That's
what,
exactly right.
what are they
it's
saying
just like the player
exactly?
non-battlegrounds thing.
Yeah.
We don't know because the language is so careful and cagey and they just won't be upfront about
Like,
it. I get it benefits only them to obfuscate
lie.
what they're doing. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what they're doing. Yes.
Like, what does debut mean? Exactly. It's like, does that mean it's going
makes
to
it-
be first on Switch, or does that mean
It's console debut. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
It's got to be absolutely frustrating.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Cork, it seems like you're calling BS on the entire Nindies push, just because you've been around for a while. You've heard the song and dance again and again.
Well,
and
they've
again.
been like, I think Nintendo has long courted independent developers ever since WiiWare.
Yeah.
So it's not. I mean, they could put a new coat of paint on it, but ultimately, they have tried to establish relationships with independent developers for a long time, and maybe this time they're opening the gates in ways that we have not seen so far.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I've had interviews with people at Nintendo just talking about, hey, this is our new indie initiative, and it just seems like same song, third verse.
And it's
that's
not like it's a
fine.
failure again and again and again.
No.
Like each console generation, there are a couple interesting exclusives
Absolutely.
even.
And the Wii U was
Yeah.
more open than any other console in
Right.
terms of like publishing games and stuff. But
Well-
yeah, you're right, Cork. Like, there's no reason the Switch is going to be this like stellar example of
No, it's and I'm not trying to sound negative. I mean, it's great that they're getting more support from independent developers, and
Yeah.
that's fantastic to have more games to play. And they look like some of them look like they're going to be very fun. But it's just weird to have like the Nindies thing. It's like it seems like someone came up with that wordplay and was like, "Hey, we should really rebrand this thing while we're at it." It's like, okay,
Yeah, it's a whole new thing. So what's the most exciting games that are coming then?
Super Meat Boy. Super Meat Boy Forever was announced, I guess, sort of. I went back and actually found a 2014 preview that I wrote of that game, where I went to PAX and I played it on an iPad.
Yeah.
But now it's actually like done, presumably, or
And
near
it's an
completion.
auto runner?
That's what it wasn't totally clear in the trailer that they showed, but after the fact, I think they had an FAQ on their site, and it appears to be an auto runner.
So it's not that this is an exclusive home. It's still coming out to iOS in theory sometime soon. It's just
Yeah.
also going to be released on Switch.
Yeah, and they did act, which surprised me. They are calling it a sequel to Super Meat Boy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they said they're like, we didn't want to call it 2 because that's stupid, so we're going to call it Super Meat Boy Forever. So I guess we can look at this as a sequel, and it looks cool. I'm excited for more Super Meat Boy, even if it's auto runner.
The iOS ports, I understand Steam is flooded with it and whatnot, but it's odd that Nintendo's courting it so much. There was like that voice game, like the rhythm game that released earlier, and even like there's the talk of porting the Final Fantasy 15 mobile version to Switch, and then there's
Yeah.
this other game that released on mobile a couple months ago
Yeah,
that they announced proudly.
Mom Hid My Game.
Yeah.
Which I was not familiar with it, and I even came to you after we watched the presentation. And I was like, "Hey, Hanson, this game looks kind of silly and goofy. Mom Hid My Game coming to Switch," and you're like, "Yeah, I played that on my iPhone a couple months ago."
Yeah, I
was
played
like,
it.
"Oh, okay."
I think it was even free, and it's one of those games that played it for 15 minutes. Like, oh, this is cute. All
looks
right, let's
cute,
immediately
yeah.
forget about it. It's just a black and white room, I do believe.
blue and white.
Oh, blue and white. There we go. And then you just have to find your gaming console that your mom repeatedly hides and hides again. You just have to, it's a little puzzle.
Let's see. Shovel Knight is getting a new campaign, which looks cool. King Knight. Golf Story. It was like that golf RPG.
I'm into it,
which
yeah.
That is one of the few that they were like, "Look, everyone, this is only coming to Switch.
Is that
Switch
right?
exclusive."
True exclusive.
Yeah.
They pointed that out. Yeah.
Well, wait.
We'll see
but
if that
wasn't
holds
it-
up,
Wasn't
but
that the exact
They
wording
said
they
Switch
used?
exclusively, coming to Switch exclusively in September.
How did they
Never mind.
frame the Kentucky Route Zero stuff then?
They,
console exclusive. They called
I think
it.
they called it. They called it the fifth episode. Fifth episode console exclusive. So presumably, when what they sold on that stream was like the fifth episode is going to come out, for everything that's available on And then it's also going the whole game will be on Switch. It's called like Kentucky Route Zero TV version or something like that.
But then it was released later, like, oh, we're also coming
Yeah.
to Xbox One and presumably PS4,
Yeah,
right?
PlayStation.
Not even
tweeted it out,
presumably. Yeah,
said,
like
hey, we've got the TV edition coming soon.
yeah.
Dantek, what do we do about this?
Is there anything we can?
shout, repeatedly call it
Yes.
bullshit.
All we can do is call them out, and
Yeah.
I think we should, and I think we're doing our job by doing so because this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
This is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, the word exclusive is just losing its meaning like every year. Just more
But
and more.
above and beyond, like you can kind of, it's murky with
Yeah.
PlayStation and console exclusive with Xbox at E3 and stuff. But it seems like every Nintendo Direct about indies, they're confusing people with this
It's
word.
frustrating dealing with the Xbox and PlayStation stuff because they deliberately use that cagey language. But here we have stuff where it's just flat out incorrect.
Yeah.
Like, and that's being presented to us. Like the what was it? What was the thing with Battle Chasers? It
It's
was
Switch first, I think is what they
right,
said.
which is
yeah.
and now it's Switch last.
Right.
yeah, it got delayed, right?
That's absolutely insane.
Yeah. It's unforgivably stupid.
Some other things, Polybridge is coming to Switch, which is kind of neat. And there's some interesting looking stuff. SteamWorld Dig 2 has a release date now.
Okay.
Yono and the Celestial Elephant. You seem pretty excited about that one.
Yono and the
Oh.
Big Oko.
No, what are you talking about? Yeah, and nothing like nothing. No, Super Meat Boy was sort of the big one.
Yeah.
and also, of course, I can't believe I almost got it. The No More Heroes, Travis Strikes Again.
Oh, that's right. That's
They had a trailer
exciting.
for that, which is again another one of the few like this is only coming to Switch.
Is
we
it like
promise.
a proper No More Heroes game? Because it seemed like in the wording that they're kind of being more experimental with it before, weren't they?
They're not calling it 3,
Yeah.
so you could take that for whatever it
It's
means.
some
But,
kind of like crazy side adventure where they go into a video game, right?
well, they're like it looked like Mitsuda. Like who fucking knows what's going on with that game? But like it sounds like you're fighting a console or
maniac.
something.
I
get
believe
sucked
I believe
into it.
you and your
Yeah,
arch nemesis
you do?
or
Okay.
something get sucked into the console and have to fight your way out through 6 different games.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, and then
Oh, that sounds great.
then
Yeah.
in the trailer they're playing Hotline Miami on the TV, and it is a continuation of the story. Like it is,
Yeah.
you know.
Hey, here's a deep cut. I didn't watch this thing, but they didn't announce that UFO 50 project for this, did they?
I don't know, but considering I don't know what that is, no, I don't think.
Okay. The trailer came out a couple weeks ago. We didn't talk about it on the podcast, but I'm very excited about it. It's Derek Yu from Spelunky fame, also the Downwell creator, and a bunch of other indie developers are getting together and making NES-style games, but it's 50 in 1, just a series of little projects. It has the best names, UFO 50. It seems very, very cool. I love the kind of just weird, it's a game jam, let's package it all together and ship it.
To maybe end on a little positivity
Please.
for Nindies, I like the Vita sort of held that space of like you can get a lot of cool indie games here
Yeah.
on this handheld platform. I feel like the Switch is kind of taking that over, and I'm really excited about that. Like I'm happy, like games like Owlboy and Hollow Knight and stuff. Like,
cool.
That's where I'm going to play those games. So as long as we'll see how Nindies works in the long run, but I'm optimistic to get some interesting games on there.
I heard that Yakuza Kiwami is not coming to the Nintendo Switch.
Exclusively.
Stay
not.
tuned. No,
Uh,
probably not.
Jeff Cork, this is your second Yakuza game this year, and I can tell from you constantly mashing the square button next to me while reviewing them.
Yeah.
It seems like that's all that's happening in those fights.
Really?
Maybe just from the sound of it, but Yakuza Kiwami, second Yakuza game this year.
Yes.
It is the remake of the first one,
It's true.
whereas Yakuza 0 was the prequel set in the 80s.
That's also true.
Okay, how does this one compare to the last one? What do you think?
It's interesting because in a lot of ways, as I mentioned in the review, it does feel like there are elements of it. It is kind of an artifact of its age. Like it is an enhanced edition of the first game, not in that just the visuals have been improved, but they've kind of added some gameplay that was first introduced in 0. So like some characters, and there's like references there that weren't in the initial release.
Yeah.
It's for the Western release, it's added the voice acting from that's been re-recorded from the original voice cast, and it's great. It's very atmospheric. I feel ultimately though some of the stuff, it doesn't feel like there's, especially if you're coming hot off of Yakuza 0,
It was a huge game, yeah.
a huge game. It's weird to kind of, it would almost, I try to think of like a decent analogy, and I haven't really come up with one, so I'll just throw this out there and it'll just land with
Can't
a
wait.
thud. But it'd be like if you watched, we'll say like the Attack of the Clones, and then
Favorite film.
your favorite film, and then maybe Revenge of the Sith, and then you watch Episode 4, like A New Hope, and you hadn't seen that before. You're kind of like, oh, okay, things kind of look junky in comparison. You know what I mean? It's still very, very good.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But if you've, like, I think like a lot of people, Sega is kind of courting new players with these remakes, right? They're trying
Sure.
to bring people who have not been into this series because it is intimidating.
Yeah.
And I definitely count myself among them because like when you start to get into like 5, 6 entries into it, it's like, well, I don't even know where to begin. So
It seems like they really succeeded with Zero. It seems like that was brought to
Absolutely.
a whole new audience.
yeah, and that was extremely smart too because with Zero, it's like this is a prequel, so people that are familiar with the series, they get a little backstory on some characters, and the new people are kind of like, here's like a new place. We're establishing things, and you can just jump right in.
Yeah.
And then with this game, it's interesting because in Yakuza 0, they kind of gave some background on one of the characters, Majima. He's like in Yakuza 0, he's a very cool guy.
Uh-huh.
And to the point, like, people are like pouring drinks on him, and he's not flinching and like holding a knife up to his face, and he's just like hands behind his back. He's like super cool and stylish.
Sweet.
And then with the rest of the Yakuza series, though, he's got this weird affectation where he's kind of like Jar Jar Binks meets the Joker, where he's just this weird goofball. Where it's interesting that choice that when they were making Yakuza 0, they didn't. I don't feel like did a super great job of explaining how this character got to be where he was. There are some references like, oh, he's trying to keep someone safe, so he's going to act like a weirdo. But it's very jarring because here they've added the system in Yakuza Kiwami where this character will pop up periodically, but he's like, hey, there's like a giant traffic cone. I'm gonna show, what's going on there? And it's shaking, and you walk up, and then he like pops up from underneath it and wants to fight you, and he like dresses up like a police officer or like a lady at a hostess bar.
Uh-huh.
He's on a stripper pole. He's like a big old weirdo. But if you just came off of Yakuza 0, where he is one of the coolest guys in the world, you're just like, what is going on here?
How bizarre.
It's
All right.
very strange. And I think ultimately, though, I think 0 was great because you had 2 playable characters, and with Yakuza Kiwami, obviously being a remake of the first one, that's not what the original had, and just to shoehorn that in would be beyond the scope, I think, of even this ambitious remake.
Sure.
But I think that what was nice about 0 is that just because of its nature of being a more recent entry in this long-running series, they had like a good handle on what the series was. So there's like some overarching gameplay that was not present in the original Yakuza game. For instance, you have the ability to invest in businesses and run a hostess bar and kind of like these overarching activities that you could return to if you wanted to take a break from the campaign or some of the side missions and things. So that was something that I really enjoyed because you felt like you were always doing something that kind of contributed to something larger. And with Yakuza Kiwami, there's nothing like that. It's all the campaign and side missions, which are fun.
It's just simpler.
It's just a simpler game because, again, this is a nicely enhanced version of a game that is a decade old.
And you gave it an 8.5.
I gave it an 8.5.
So if you're going to check out a Yakuza game for the first time, go 0.
Absolutely.
There we go.
And Kiwami is definitely worth playing. Like,
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, great. You guys want to move on to some great emails?
I would love to
Yeah,
move on
sure.
to some great emails.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. And welcome back to the Game Informer Show with some great emails that people sent into podcast@GameInformer.com. Cork, have you ever sent in an email to podcast@GameInformer.com?
I'll never tell.
I'll be damned. Which one was from Cork?
I have a
Try and
stack
figure
of
it out.
really something nices at home.
So a lot of people wrote in, really appreciate it. A lot of great stuff, a lot of really fun stuff. I filter it down to the best of the best, but then we're all going to remember our absolute favorite email and ship them out something very nice.
I can attest to how nice it is because, like I said, I've got a whole stack of these things.
It's wonderful. So podcast@GameInformer.com for questions, comments, news stories you want us to talk about, anything under the sun. All right. First up, Luke Chambers says, Dear podcasters, a long time ago in the Helgeson days. I like that. The Helgeson era. You had 2 great debate podcasts. One was about the Zelda series, and the other was about Final Fantasy. Probably my favorite podcast you've ever made. Thank you. I wasn't involved.
Are you taking credit for that?
We've had new releases in the main line of both series since then, Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild and Final Fantasy 15. Also, in both debates, some reservations were voiced about the direction of both series, and I think both series have since changed their directions. So I think it might be time to revisit those debates. Yeah, those podcasts were fun. I remember listening to those. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we could do it again with
Were
those
they
new additions.
franchise debates?
Yeah,
Like,
it
not
was
just a
all about
single
like
game? Okay.
ranking the entire franchises, I think. I think there's
Okay.
something in that vein that we can definitely do.
Yeah.
I think I'd want to move on to like a new series instead of those 2. But Mario? That'd be all right. I don't think we've done a
Yakuza.
great
Mario.
Mario debate. Yakuza, yeah, get some Yakuza talk finally. Dan, what series would you want to talk about?
Final Fantasy.
Okay, I guess we can.
Hey,
do that.
it's. I think there's been so many changes through that series.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Well, what do you think about this? Jose says, "Hey Ben, can we get an update on the status of Dan Tack's PC 1X challenge sent in the E3 mop-up episode?"
sure. It's still in progress. It's not that I can't do it. It's just that I have to get everything right, and I am. They work me pretty hard here. Yeah.
Can you offer a recap for this? I vaguely remember this.
I have
real
no
simple.
idea what we're even
It's real
talking
simple.
about
That
here.
make a PC in the same price range as the Xbox One X, the same power.
I would like that. Like the exact same power as Xbox One X. How much does that PC cost?
Right.
I think it'd be helpful for a community.
I think it would be too. And I'm still. It's still going to happen at some point.
All right, great.
When's the X come out? Do we know off the top of our heads? Is it November?
Yesterday. I don't know. Khalid Youssef from Saudi Arabia says, "Hi there. Is Jeff Cork alive?"
We'll see.
All right, you
Stay
tell
tuned.
us, Khalid. Let's see. This is Incronaut from Walnut Creek, California. What is the biggest experience you guys or gals have had with a sequel or game of the same genre that had simple quality of life improvements, but it actually took away from your gameplay experience? Thanks. Keep up the great work. That's a good one.
Yeah.
He mentioned StarCraft 2's improvements, which I think there's an interesting case to make there about just like, yeah, I guess removing some micro throughout overall RTS design. Some people might not be a fan of that.
Yeah. Does anyone claim Mass Effect 1 over 2 as being like better in terms of RPG?
I like Mass Effect 1 more, but I mean, you can't argue those quality of life
Yeah,
bridges. But I
right.
guarantee there are those people out there that say that like, oh, that's back when it was a real janky RPG.
There's
the way
one-
it should be, damn it.
There's one that I thought of. I don't know if it falls under quality of life, but Dead Space 2 to 3,
Yeah.
they give you a lot more options in terms of your weapons,
Mm.
and I did not want any of those. Like, just let me find a good weapon in the environment. I don't want to make my own weapon. I don't want to like have to worry. It's like just a new thing I have to manage.
Yeah.
And I think their idea behind it was like, yeah, you can claim ownership over this weapon that you're using to fight with. And I was like, that's not what I want from Dead Space, you know. So that I guess that's an example. I don't know. It gave you more to do. So I don't know if it was like quality of life. When I hear that term, I think of like simplifying things and making it easier.
You know what the number one example I thought it was?
was that?
Just experience share in Pokemon. From X
Yeah.
and Y on. That's
I love
such
that,
a
though.
game changer.
Yeah.
It
I
makes
love
it
it.
so easy. Like I've been
But
playing through Pokemon Black again. That game has kicked my ass a couple of times. Just
Yeah.
like, what is this Pokemon game that's not just a complete cakewalk? My God. Yeah. There's some charm to swapping out those characters. And I know it's optional, but you can't not use it
It's such
if it's
a
right
nice
there.
thing that you don't want to
There's
turn
no
it
reason
off,
not
you know.
to.
Yeah.
Does that detract from the experience though? Does it for you
experience
personally?
share?
Yes.
I think so because I can never use some piece of crap that's in the 6th slot in my party and it'll still be leveled up and I have no connection to it then. It's always my backup.
I get
Whereas
what you're saying, but the whole like other way of doing it, like keep continually getting the enemy low and then swapping through just to get extra XP for your lobies, it's
Yeah.
a huge pain in the ass.
it's a pain in the ass, but it adds to your bond with those guys.
It really like having your weak guy up front and then switching them out of like that game. It just feels like just extra menu
I'd
that you're doing.
Ugh, but it's so easy otherwise.
So maybe there's another way to do
totally
it.
is.
There
I
is.
think the old school method just is really, again, aggravating from not just. It's just like doesn't make any sense for you to do that, right? Let's
Yeah.
put in the lobby
Yeah.
guy, swap him out.
Give me experience share, but just up the difficulty a little bit to make up for it. It seems like they're trying to split the difference, and it's a mess.
So I disagree with this, but former intern Craig, confusing.
Craig Taylor?
Yeah, Craig. He took me to task for removing the clock from Dead Rising 4, like the time element, because
Yeah.
I think he was under the impression that I created that game.
An easy mistake. An
amount
easy
of
mistake.
passion, and he was like, did everything short of like jabbing his index finger into my sternum, but he was saying that it was stupid and it was garbage, and then said that he had not played it.
Oh wow!
But that it was a real trashy, cheap move that seemed like.
But it's just clearly better in your eyes, right?
I don't know if it's better or worse. It's just different. So like, I'm speaking on Craig Taylor's behalf.
That hack.
That's our Craig.
Oh,
We love him.
Craig.
Jed from Barnesville, Minnesota. Have you guys ever heard of Barnesville?
I don't believe it's
Heard
real.
of Burnsville? Is that a typo?
I saw it at the state fair.
There we go. Jed from Barnesville, Minnesota says, "Hey, GI crew, dogs or cats?" Dantek.
Dogs.
Kyle.
Cats.
Cork.
For what?
Yo, for eating?
Oh, lovemaking.
Love making.
Yeah.
Oh, give me a dog
Whoa.
any day.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a bit of a dog man, but I'm allergic to everything with fur. Number one fan, Mr. Bill here, says, I would love an email section that focuses on the worst emails you've rejected on the show.
Wow.
internet-
You're reading it.
That would be. That
How
would be kidding.
dare you?
I'm with this guy.
The internet is full of crazy people with crazy things to say, I've noticed. And it'd be great to hear some of the bizarre emails I'm sure you've gotten. I know it's a bad idea to make fun of your community, but man, it'd be hilarious. I agree, but it would just be making fun of the community.
Just leave the names off.
I'm already a dick to people that email in, and I appreciate it too much.
One thing we could wholesale rip off, I think, is the 1UP show. They used to share the crazy press releases that they would get that would have nothing to do with video games. We get a lot of those. It would be fun to gather those all up.
I thought of doing something similar, and it's less about our community, I think. It's more of just a scattershot, but I actually started a doc a while ago of just the worst YouTube comments of the week. And usually they're just the most horrific things you could possibly
really bad.
write.
Most of them.
But some are just so bizarre, usually about just wanting to fillet Todd Howard and stuff, where it's like, maybe there's a fun angle
There's
there.
some really crazy stuff on there.
Because if I understand, like, you basically see a full page of comments when you look at it.
Yeah.
Like, you're not looking at individual videos and checking comments.
No,
and
and
I always,
so it'll be like comments from a replay from 6 years ago where it's just like, why don't you guys ever respond to me? And it's like, what? I see you leaving this comment, but it's just bizarre.
I love you'll be quietly sitting at your desk and you'll sort of double over in laughter. Like because you're at a standing desk and you'll kind of lean over laughing and then you'll take off your headphones and be like, hey Kyle, check out this YouTube comment. And I'm always eager to see what you're gonna read.
And
to
it's
me.
usually just making fun of your hair or something
Yeah,
horrific
that's
about
not
your
great.
personality. Brandon
Left
from
by
Iowa.
Ben Hansen.
Brandon from Iowa. This is an odd one, but I really like it. He says, somewhere between brag and shameful admission is a simple truth. I've owned every Madden game since 1992, the exception being when NFL 2K existed. Interesting. The question isn't about that, however. This is about science and Game Informer's historic resources, which is valuable. I want to know how long a Madden game from each system era took to load and how they compare to each other. But for context, how long loads were compared to another game from the same system with a roughly similar depth complexity. I don't know if that's necessary, Brandon, but he says, Madden 18 seems to load faster than 17. And I remember the PlayStation 1 era had glacial pacing. But do they really? Only GI and the intern you like the least can tell us. Keep up the wonderful work. I love that you're just like booting up a game, every Madden back to back. What are those load times like? And then make a graph out of it?
Or like just a bunch of TVs in a row.
Yeah,
This is the most interesting
I
question
think
you could
that's
ask
a
about
fascinating
Madden.
question. I really do.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're ever gonna have the answer, but I think it's an amazing question.
We did a replay like 2 years ago.
That's right.
Where we went through a bunch of eras of Madden. And that might give you an idea.
Yeah.
Like that at least has us playing. I think you were on that episode,
I
weren't you?
don't
Or-
think so. I think it was Brian Shea, but it was a
Yeah.
good episode. I remember
Yeah.
thinking always in my mind, like, whoever did a Madden, I think it'd be kind of boring, but that was a great way to do it. Just
Yeah.
rapid fire through
Like
all
we
that
went
stuff.
like up like super early Madden, like middle, and then like all the So
Yeah.
look for that episode. That might answer that question a little
Or
bit.
just look up the intro to Madden 2000 with that ludicrous rap, the Madden ludicrous rap.
You're a big
Extra
fan.
load
Yeah.
time for that one.
Give us a few bars off the dome.
Let's see.
My name is Ludacris,
No,
and
no,
I'm
no,
here
it's
to
like,
say I play Madden every day.
You gotta come hotter than hard, rougher than rough. Gaza! Put up your guard. You better be tough. Gaza! It's been like that since Madden 92. There's a line in there. Kyle, you want to plug your mic back in?
That's optional.
Yeah. Ian from Chicago. Simple question. Hey, gang. We're just human beings. He says, I've been wondering if you all have any favorite cinematics in games. A couple of my favorites are any of the opening videos for The Old Republic and the opening cinematic for DCUO. Special honorable mention to all videos from Blur. Correct.
Yeah.
Favorite cinematic?
I guess I'm just gonna take the whole Blizzard suite of cinematics and call these-
Okay.
pick one.
Okay.
It's easy, but it's true.
You can't do that.
It doesn't
That's like that
count.
crap where Reiner says Zelda, the entire series, is his favorite game.
Well,
My
this is
favorite
not-
food is all of them.
Favorite specific moment in a Blizzard cinematic?
It's the dwarf fighting a bear in World
No,
of
it
Warcraft
wouldn't be that
cinematic.
one. I'll come back to me later. I gotta think.
All
I have
right.
a recent one actually.
Yeah.
The beginning of Hyperlight Drifter. I really love. It's weird and sort of ambiguous
Yeah.
and really sets the tone really well. I really love it. It's really cool. It's like it's the what I used, there were times when you would like watch the cinematics over and over because they were like pre-rendered and cool, and that's kind of like your reward for playing the game. But like recent, I don't do that anymore. But Hyperlight Drifter, I remember like looking up on YouTube and even watching like once or twice just because I really love that opening for that game. It's so cool.
Were you the type of guy, Kyle? We're the same generation.
Mhm.
I'm like these old farts next to us. Did you download a lot of like FMVs and stuff from Kaza and like weird file downloading things? It's like all the Final Fantasy cutscenes to watch over and over again.
Or like finding just clips of Dragon Ball Z in Japanese because there was no other way to watch it.
Right, and always be like, who are these characters? What is this weird world?
Yeah,
it's good
we
stuff.
did that together. We probably were seeding the downloads to each other and we didn't even know it.
You! Korg, do you like any cutscenes?
I like one of the ending cinematics from Wind Waker, Legend of Zelda, where you see all the people you've encountered.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
All they're having a great time and they're waving, and it's just a beautiful moment.
Yeah. Too many waves in that game.
You shut your.
we talked about it. I think maybe on the last podcast, but specifically the like fake camcorder stuff at the very end of Final Fantasy VIII, I think is so brilliant. Like it's such a great way to connect to your characters, just to see them like all having this big party. It's the Citadel DLC for Mass Effect before that. Everyone's having a big party, everyone's drinking and eating, and it's just someone going around with a camcorder and like getting these candid, silent shots of like Zell choking to death. And then I think like Rinoa is like out on the balcony and stuff. It's so good. It's so well done.
Onimusha, those had some really cool opening cutscenes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll be damned. Dan, have you narrowed it down?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Overwatch reveal cinematic.
With the kids, right?
So the kids museum.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
Okay.
I really like that one. I think it really just like calls out the flavor of characters and shows like what a cheery universe it is for a game about murdering each other.
And to be clear, I did jump on Dan Tack a little aggressively earlier, and to that I almost apologize. But you are right. Like their cinematics team at Blizzard just phenomenal.
They really are. They should do movies.
All their Overwatch
Insane
stuff
good stuff
is unbelievably good.
You asked them about if they were going to do a movie recently.
I did.
In an interview that you should read on GameInformer.com.
Yeah, and then he said, "I would love to watch an Overwatch movie."
I'd love to watch an Overwatch movie.
Yeah,
made by their cinematics team, not
Yes.
by live action
Oh,
Warcraft.
Oh, if you insult our dear friend of the show, Duncan Jones, one more
I'm
time.
not insulting him.
DJ.
Also all the Team Fortress 2 shorts are amazing.
That's true.
They are.
Let's see. This is from M.A. in Lowell, Indiana. My God, that's like a Mario and Rabbids cryptic letter writer. Anyways, I don't know. Hey, GI crew.
Mario
with Scorpio coming around the corner, I'm left with a decision. I was looking to upgrade to a 4K TV this year and currently own an Xbox One and a PS4. My question is, do I buy a 4K TV first and wait until next year to get the Xbox One X and have nothing to take advantage of the 4K? Or buy Scorpio this year, enjoy the non-4K advantages, and buy the TV next year?
Well, I mean, if he doesn't get I guess get the S, right? The Scorpio, the X.
What? Get the S, the Scorpio?
The Scorpio,
X.
the X. I meant X.
There's no reason to buy a 4K and just not do anything with it.
Right, he won't have anything to use it.
Right.
So like,
I
at
guess
least
you're
have
right.
the new hardware.
And then you can load Madden so much faster on
That's
that
right.
baby. It's really going to be sweet. Also, he says, as a dare, I dare Dan Tack to show visible excitement for a game.
That's certainly happened before.
Like, what's a game that's coming up that you're excited about?
I can't say.
You're tired.
But let's say if like
oh, please.
if Bloodborne 2 got announced, I would show visible excitement.
Can you show visible excitement for it right now?
Let's
Because
say.
I'm not because it hasn't been announced.
So you can't show visible excitement
I
about a
can't
game
fake
that hasn't been
excitement.
announced?
No,
Can't fake excitement.
Are you kidding
I have
me?
to be actually excited.
Dan,
Yes.
okay, what game has been announced that you're excited to play?
This year, I think we've come out with everything.
We did it.
Monster Hunter World.
Okay,
Yeah.
show some visible excitement right now.
It's already been announced. Like it's already faded.
He's not.
Why won't you show any
He's not
excitement?
excited anymore.
I'm
He's
very
done.
excited about it, but I'm not going to show visible excitement.
Tell your
Like, it
face.
just doesn't happen.
What are you talking
I
about?
have to actually be excited, man.
What are you actually excited
I
about
can't
then?
fake it. Monster Hunter World.
Well, then show excitement.
I can't.
He lost his dare. He lost the dare.
I lost the dare.
Oh, hang on. I got a message. It's coming in through the intercom in my ear. Dan, I just heard Bloodborne 2 has just been announced.
Really? Where?
Yeah.
Let me see it.
They just announced it at Gamescom last
I
week.
have some healthy skepticism for this announcement.
He's smirking a little bit. Does that count?
Can you just put a fake smile on your face?
No.
Jesus Christ.
You've been an awful politician, man.
Dan, have you ever wanted to run for office?
I haven't. I have not.
Have you ever thought about it?
No.
It'd be kind
Have
of fun,
you?
though.
You asked that as though that's a
You know what?
common thought.
Honestly, no. But I was just listening to this interview with Michael Moore, and he said he had a good line where he said, like, you should not trust anybody that wants to run for office, which I agree with, just wild narcissists for the most part. I don't want to get too political here, but these politicians, boy. But he's like, if you are the type of person who has thought, I would never want to run for office, I think that automatically volunteers you, and you should force yourself to do it, because that's the best politician, is someone who does not have that crazy drive for power.
Also,
right?
the person who won't win, unfortunately, right?
Well, I don't know. Dan Tech says. I mean, people read into the podcast
That's
email
true.
section all the time
2020.
about him.
Get ready for my campaign.
You can be like, you know.
Please be excited for it. Tell your face.
That's right.
Please
All
be
right.
excited.
No, I'll have a little moon head thing, so you won't be able to see the excitement.
Oh.
Save
okay.
the moon for your butt, Dan.
Okay.
Edgar Vasquez says, "How you doing, podcastos?" Hello, Edgar
Vasquez. Is
Surreal's brother.
that- Yep.
Have you ever had that moment when you looked in a mirror and didn't recognize yourself? You guys want to relax and think
That's
about
just a
this one.
poster
Yeah,
that you're looking at, my friend.
Leo, if you want to play Dark Side of the Moon while I read this question, that'd be cool. I was recently traveling back from Mexico by road. It's a 30-hour drive. Good Lord.
Holy hell.
And I happened to catch myself in the side mirror, and I was like, is that me? The answer was no. There was a man in my backseat. No. I was extremely tired of being on the road for so long, but a little part of me died then. Good Lord, Edgar. Have you ever had that happen? Have you ever looked in a mirror and not recognized
I can't
yourself?
say I've ever driven 30 hours and slowly died over the course of that trip.
But I've shaved.
Yeah, that's a great example, right?
Recoil and horror.
What do you think when you shave? Do you get younger?
I didn't know that my face could be rounder than a circle. That's what I think.
One time I was looking in the mirror and I just had blue paint all over it, and it was a hard time for me.
Extra Life 2016. Do you guys ever have that thing, just to really freak out, where maybe I just watched too many cartoons in my life, but do you ever watch like a lot of animated stuff, a lot of cartoons, and then you just look at a human being right afterwards and it just looks off and jarring?
No,
That's
Me neither.
weird.
Yeah.
me neither.
Ken from Issaquah, Washington says, basically, what the hell is up with these game titles? Can you define what these games are actually about based on the title themselves? He has a couple examples. Axiom Verge, Infinite Undiscovery. Very stupid. One he wrote in, I've never stopped thinking about it. What the hell does siphon filter mean? What is that about?
It's about
Is
a
it?
fish tank.
So siphon,
Oh, that explains all those games and why they're about fish tanks.
is it spelled? Because siphon, you
spelled
can like
different, yeah.
you can siphon
Yeah.
gas from something, right?
So you need a
That's SI.
filter, so when you're chugging
Yeah.
gas out of a gas tank, you
But
don't
siphon-
swallow too much gas?
Siphon
Actually,
filters.
That's a really good question.
Yeah, I don't know. I that's the thing. I think they're spelled
No.
differently.
Here's the problem. Every interview with Sony Ben is just like, boy, talk about Days Gone. How you looking forward to Days Gone? It should just be, what the hell is with that name? And I take full responsibility for during E3 not asking what was up with Siphon Filter.
Siphon filter.
I think there's a lot of games that have questionable names. It's an interesting topic that I could be
Detroit
fascinated to
Become
delve
Human.
into.
Well,
No, we know why that name
that
is
takes
out,
place
right?
in Detroit, and it's about robots trying to become human.
Did you
right?
see the director of Kong Skull Island cryptically tweeted that I think he made some sort of promotional marketing thing for that game coming up?
Oh, really?
He's like, my next project is short and it involves video games and Detroit, my favorite things. And so,
Oh, it's a new RoboCop game.
yeah, we can only
weird.
imagine.
RoboCop. What the hell's up with that name?
Come on, it is funny. Just you get so used to saying names. Like one time I was talking about Metal Gear Solid, and my girlfriend at the time was like, "What is Muddiga Solid?" I was just saying it
Muddiga
so
Solid.
fast, but then when you slow it down,
That's
it's
funny.
so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Metal
Metal
Gear.
Gear Solid,
Solid.
because the main guy's name is Solid, but apparently it's not a reference to the main character; it's a reference to 3D graphics. Is what
Yeah,
Hideo
because
Kojima
they look
says.
like solid blocks.
Resident
Man's
Evil.
a genius.
Resident Evil just makes sense.
Biohazard.
It's
Uh
genius.
oh, wait a minute,
Wait, what?
Oh.
Mr. Bill. I think this is his second email.
Oh, the double tap.
You scoundrel!
You dirty dog. Dear Mr. Hansen, he spells it with an EN, that's not right. My question is there a better argument to get a Switch or a VR headset this year?
Oh, I got one. This one clearly get the Switch.
Yeah,
Clearly get the Switch.
You like
VR
games?
is, we're going to be dragging it out of the grave here for the all.
Why would you drag it out?
There's nothing.
It's in there.
Yeah, like, I would prefer to leave it there, but I'm sure they'll try to bring it out again.
Who's they, Dan?
Publishers,
You
developers.
know.
Yeah.
You know.
No, I mean, there's no Do
Do you want to show your excitement about grave digging?
I'm not excited about that.
P.S. says Mr. Bill, I'm totally sick of the Dan Tech obsession the GI community has, but that doesn't mean you should be a jerk to him.
Hey, points to Bill.
Yeah, why don't you take that to heart, Hanson?
Is that true?
Quit being such
Dan,
an
do you
asshole.
feel like
That's
I'm a
what
jerk to you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Do you seriously think
Absolutely.
So you want me to be nicer to you?
You can be however you want.
Is
I'm
it
not trying to change who you are, man. I like you the way you are.
Do I make your work experience worse or better?
I'm ambivalent to how you make my work
Who
experience.
makes your work experience better throughout the day?
You do, Hanson. every day.
What a clear-cut conversation. Michael Davis says, "Hey, everybody. I challenge Hanson and or Leo to shoutcast over an editor's response to a question during emails."
Okay.
Leo in the booth, I'm leaving this up to you. Hope you're ready.
Okay, so how does this work? Like we all
You need to choose one editor, Leo, and shoutcast or give golf
they're gonna talk at the
commentary
same
over
time.
them. All right, ready?
Okay.
All right, next question. Simple one. This is from Chris Calkins from Honeoye Falls. How do you pronounce that, Cork? Honeoye
Hanayoi
Falls, New York.
Hanoi?
That's normally what I yell when I go over some falls. He says, "Hello, crew. I've watched your Super Replays multiple times, and I've wondered which one was your favorite to play, be a part of, record, or watch. My favorite is Raw Danger. Dan Tech, what's your favorite Super Replay of all time?"
It's my favorite and my least favorite.
Oh, really?
Or I guess we should just go with favorite then.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd say the Dark Souls one that I did with Tim was my favorite.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Why is that?
It was really cool to like see Tim get into that game from the point where he was, especially when we were doing the whole From Software cover then at the time for
Yeah.
Dark Souls 3. It was a really interesting experience taking him through and sort of like, from my own practical experience, I hadn't played Dark Souls, the game we were playing for years, and I was just trying to remember all that, watching him and Andy try to figure out how to use the fire ring to get through that lake later on, the episode I wasn't there for.
That's right.
That was something else.
What a nightmare.
Yeah.
Kyle, do you have a favorite?
Yeah, probably Shenmue, I think,
Okay.
because it was fun and
Was it fun?
it was I guess it wasn't fun, but it made a good. It made a good video, and there were so many times where I was sure that we would never finish that game.
Yeah.
Like I would get stuck in fights and stuff like that, and being able to overcome those segments was really fun and rewarding. And there was a lot of good comments. People left good comments.
Cool. Jeff Cork,
Yeah,
what's your favorite Super Replay of all time?
I would have to say Illbleed.
Oh, yes.
That was a lot of fun. That game is super weird.
That's the Cork Goes to Hell thing, right?
It's the Court Goes to Hell and like Dummy Man and
Yeah.
all kinds of weird crap.
I'll be damned.
So apparently, challenge failed.
Mine would have to be probably the first Overblood. That was a momentous thing. But I always loved Mega Man Legends. I think it was really fun. Like that was one where we had like Annette on for an episode, which we always forget about, but she was great. It was always like this challenge because she has such a rich personality, and it was always frustrating. Like, oh, show more of that personality in videos. Come on. But she was always so shy during those recordings. So I
Yeah.
feel like the Mega Man one was the closest. Leo was really counting on the shoutcasting during one of those.
He said it.
I looked over. I thought maybe that like he had come up with some system where he was shoutcasting,
Yeah, I thought he was just
like,
shoutcasting
and we
over it,
couldn't
yeah.
hear
Yeah.
him.
That's what I thought too.
What a casting.
Leo, what was happening there?
Nothing could overcome my deep-seated hatred of interrupting people.
Can he go back and do some shoutcasting so that this whole segment just seems really odd that we're mad at him
No,
for
I don't
not doing
think
it?
so. But I think he said it is the most usable term.
He said it.
Good job, Leo. I think.
He said it. Corey from New Hampshire. New Hampshire? Says, "Dear Ben and crew, let's table the video game talk and get
Okay.
another topic
Ooh,
in
I
here.
love it when we get good stuff like politics in here.
Here we go. Since this email will hopefully be featured after the finale, what did you guys think of the ending to Game of Thrones? Here's the deal.
We have
All right.
spoilers to take care of here, right?
I want to talk about this in a way with zero Game of Thrones spoilers.
It's
Yeah.
impossible.
I don't think so. I don't think it is.
Okay.
I think just talking about the internet just taking a dump on every episode, especially in the second
they?
half of Game of Thrones this season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The finale seemed quite well received from
Cork says nay.
Yeah, I think people are head down on it. For some reason.
People did
I
not
think-
like this.
I will. I'm see, maybe
Oh,
we can,
man.
I can talk around spoilers. There's one specific point that people have been complaining about a lot in the last couple episodes of how everyone is able to travel much faster
Yeah.
than they should be able to. I don't care. It did not break the illusion for me. I love that it kept the pace up and it made a lot more things happen in a single episode.
I'm with you.
Like
I
it
don't
definitely
care that,
does,
like,
it
the-
definitely doesn't make sense. Like I agree. But it did not break the illusion for me, and I liked it because more things happened.
I have no
faster.
problem when it cuts out like a boat ride because, like, okay, I can imagine they sat there and
Yeah.
talked about some nonsense for a while. But when it comes down to logic within a single episode, that's where it's like, I wish it was a little more consistent.
And I think some of those qualms stem from, and I could be incorrect, but earlier seasons and episodes, travel was an important aspect of things that people had to do, and it took a long time to get from point A to point
That's
B.
how we grew to love those characters, was them
Right.
traveling. And I think like
Absolutely.
Pound and Arya traveling forever.
Yeah.
And now people have made that trip
I like
over and over.
the
and over
one
again.
glaring one that everyone brings up. Like the solution would to have been to extend that out to like 2 or 3 episodes, and I don't think that would have been that interesting.
I think a lot of times, though, it could be overcome with a line of dialogue to kind of,
Like, we've been here for a week kind
or
of thing,
just
or something like
some kind of. I think for me, I don't mind it if it keeps the story going, but at the same time, I feel completely disconnected from the geography of Westeros. Like,
Yeah.
I have no idea how far away things are, like, and it doesn't seem like.
They keep walking over that map. In
Yeah,
King's Landing, I don't know if you
that old
noticed.
map.
Yeah, and it seems as though actual travel takes approximately the same amount of time. And I don't know.
that. They've opened fast travel points at this point. I mean, they've been playing the game long enough, right?
Yeah, but there are enemies
the Game of
nearby,
Thrones.
Kyle.
That's right.
Here's one thing that
They're enemies nearby.
that I think some
Good
people
one.
are getting upset with now, without spoilers. It's just how the series is transitioning to more of classic high fantasy, or to
Right.
use a worse term, cliche high fantasy.
Sure.
Um,
And Miller is the smartest person I know when it comes to that topic. And he's like, well, that's the charm, is like the universe, it was special because it exists in a world where there used to be high fantasy. And the world kind of forgot about it. And the point of Game of Thrones is them relearning the art of high fantasy, which is an interesting argument. I would certainly prefer.
I'm not
less
saying that the
voodoo, but-
underpinnings haven't been there the whole time, because they have.
Right.
But now that it's actually transferring into that, a lot of people who enjoyed the more gritty, brutal realm wars, human on human kind of stuff, may be a little
Mhm.
disenchanted with where it's going, which is high fantasy.
For sure. And like I listened to Kotaku's podcast about Game of Thrones, and it seems like their big creed that they bang on again and again and again is like, I just don't want it to end in a good versus evil fight. And it seems like this season was very much setting up good versus evil fight. It's going to be relatively clear cut here.
Yeah.
And I think that's a less interesting conclusion. And overall, the season, I wanted more surprises.
I actually was not disappointed in the finale. I guess that's the.
Yeah, I don't think I was either. I think the internet's way too harsh. I think there are some logical leaps that are a little bit frustrating, but still, I think it's the best show on TV.
Yeah.
And even if you have little frustrations here and there, it's just articles where you get nitpicky and complain about stuff are easy-ish to write, and people like to read it, and the traffic does well, and then it just kind of fuels itself, and then eventually the entire internet's just all over
I
it.
guess that's why because you're right, Hans. I totally agree, and that's where that travel time complaint I've been seeing brought up so much. Like that's the one that seems to be floating to the top because it's really easy to point to. So this is wrong.
Well, I think what's interesting about it, though, is that it is a show that I watch and have conversations about afterwards where speculation is a large part of it. And I think that's fun. Unlike something like I watch Walking Dead, and the conversations there are just like, well, that was just a big garbage heap. What am I doing with my life? The finite amount of time that I have on this planet, and I'm going to the up with a bunch of idiots. But Game of Thrones, I think part of the problem too is that because we do spend a lot of time thinking about it and speculating, at this point, time is running out. They've only got one season. It is a very short season. Even
6
though the
episodes?
episodes are going to be longer.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the culmination of what the whole story is built up to. And at a certain point, you don't want it to be like an M. Night Shyamalan style twist. You have to kind of have payoffs for things that have been let up. You still have, there's plenty of room for surprises and taking unexpected turns, but at a certain point, like the pieces are on the table. There's only so much you can do at this point. You can't introduce a whole new faction and go, you know, because when they introduced Euron, for instance, he had been on the show before, but I mean, like his big return, it seemed jarring because you're just like, wait, this guy, wait, you know what I mean? So
Sir Jarring.
Yeah, exactly. Watching On the Wings.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, they kind of set it up for some new faction appearing in the next season. I'm curious if there's going to be a main character or a character built up there. I hope that there aren't. Like, people talk about so many characters dying left and right on the show, which, sure, that's true. But I think a big thing throughout the season is just realizing, like, there's still a lot of people left.
For now.
Well,
We're going to be doing some cleanup on the final season, I imagine.
Well, in general, Dan, would you guess optimistic or what's the best, positive or negative ending for the show? As far as, you know, are fans going to be, I guess, the tone.
I think if it does end on a traditional high fantasy note, that will be disappointing to almost everyone.
Yes.
So, but I think a twist is ridiculous and not necessary because it's obvious what the entire thing has been building to the entire time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that has to happen, but there had better be some nuances and other things that are unexpected without being twists for the sake of being twists. You know what I mean?
What's the obvious thing the entire time?
It's called A Song of Ice and Fire, right? So we know what's going to happen.
No.
Ice and
Fire
fire.
versus ice.
Ice and
I feel
fire.
like that's
are
already
going to-
happened.
Well, I don't know.
It'll
I'm trying to
happen
avoid any
more.
kind of spoilers, right?
Well, I
Completely
think it's fair to
spoiler-free.
talk about hypothetical endgame stuff.
Yeah, because that will be there will be a resolution to that, and I'm sure some factions that are currently in play will backstab people because that's what Game of Thrones is all about.
Yeah.
A bunch of people will die, including people we love.
I think there's going to be some backstabbing going on from that last episode. It kind of glossed over a certain meeting, which was very important, and it kind of quietly continued from there. I think there's more going on in that absence of time than people would like to admit, because it doesn't make sense the way it stands now. In that
They're
last episode.
talking about nerd.
All right, Leo.
Good shout.
Wait,
Rider.
hang on. Game of
Yeah.
Thrones is nerd now? It's like
Everything's nerd
it's like the most mainstream thing out there. At this
Leo
point
doesn't
in
like
the
Game of
fantasy
Thrones.
culture.
No
Man.
Mario, no Game of Thrones.
Well, but you
still
haven't
lovable.
watched any Game of Thrones, right, Leo?
Don't need to.
Oh my god!
Leo, I'm with you. I hate all fantasy.
This is
but Game of
unbelievable.
Thrones really slipped in, and it's so well done. It's so
Yeah, but he's
done.
doing the whole I don't know anything about it. I haven't even watched a single episode, and I hate it.
I know. I hate it when other people
Yeah,
do it, but
he's
Leo's a
being
lovable
cool.
little rogue.
All right.
Trying to get us out of this segment while calling back to a previous joke.
Love you, Leo. Also, a special shout out in the email section to Talal El Hamro from Morocco. We wish him all the best. Much love out to our friend
Yeah.
out there. Sophie. Oh, I'm sorry. Before Sophie, Stuart Blessman, friend of the show, writes in. He says, thoughts on the release story for Half-Life Episode 3. Who in the GI office is the biggest Half-Life Valve fan? That could be Kyle, which is why last week we recorded a 40-minute discussion about that Episode 3 that Mark Laidlaw released on his blog, which is an amazing story. I'm not a big Half-Life guy, but I got a little emotional about the idea of this guy trying to probably get that game made after so many years, a decade within Valve, probably just, the true pushing the boulder up the hill, failing again and again, leaving Valve, and then just being like, F it, I'm going to make all these fans happy. Here's your closure. I need to do this on my own. Just going rogue, posting, in theory, what the plot most likely would have been to Episode 3 if it would have happened.
Do you
and
think he emailed Gabe? I was like, hey, heads up, I'm going to do this.
I bet. And I bet
Is that
Gabe would
okay?
just go for it.
Yeah.
This is all speculation. But
Yeah, totally, yeah.
I would imagine. I don't think they left on those bitter terms and whatnot.
I saw a funny picture on the internet
Yeah.
of someone on their desktop had icons for Half-Life 1, Half-Life 2, Episode 2, and then just a text document for Episode 3. And I was like, yeah, that's right.
I was giving Kyle crap for not being more energetic during that video, which I felt bad, and I was a real
what the
asshole
hell?
about it.
That's kind of your thing.
But it was just one of those things where you were starting to critique it, this is a poor way to finally absorb Half-Life Episode 3. But I still see it as such a miracle, crazy event that this dude released it.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing to critique.
Yeah, totally. But it's just not the way I wanted to. What if they canceled the final season of Game of Thrones and you just got to read it?
Right. Yeah.
They released like a book,
Like that'll
or something.
happen.
But no, but I am happy to have closure on Half-Life, even if it's I don't know. It's I kind of call it presumed closure, I guess you could call it, because it's who knows if that's where it was going. Who knows if that's what it would be when it was done.
Right.
But
and you hear that if they ever went back to it, it'd be a different genre and stuff. So it seems like this is what it would have been if it would have stayed as a first person shooter.
Yes.
With starring Gordon Freeman.
Yeah.
Or Gertrude. What's her name?
Friedman? Gertrude Friedman?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I love they changed all the names. So
It's good stuff.
yeah. What do you think of that saga, Cork?
Does at any point in the synopsis does it say Half-Life 3? It has really good graphics.
You wouldn't believe these graphics.
The opening sentence is okay, imagine really good graphics,
Yeah.
but 2 steps higher than that.
Exactly.
That's where we start.
P.S. This is the best game Valve ever made. Sophie.
Let's do
Wait, was
read
there-
Sophie's letter in that voice,
No,
please.
no.
Yeah.
Was there a question, or they just wanted to bring up the Half-Life stuff?
I just wonder who in the office is the biggest fan,
Oh, okay.
what we thought
Dan,
of it.
are you
but-
a Half-Life fan?
Yeah, I am.
You are? Okay. Because
Yeah.
I do genuinely like the story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm interested in the plot of Half-Life.
I like
don't
the
know if
games and the design, a lot of
Yeah.
levels and all that stuff. It was great stuff. The story, I don't know if I really care
not
about it too much.
not your highlight when it comes to Half-Life.
So you're saying you couldn't reenact your facial expression when you learned that they released the plot to Episode 3?
I'm reenacting it right now. And I'm not even joking.
Dan, can you reenact your facial expression that time that you accidentally peed on that electric fence?
I did not do that.
Not what I heard. Sophie says, friend of the show, if you're forced to pick for the rest of your life, all food you eat
One of
Is
these.
this Would You Rather?
One of these, yeah. It is.
would be warm, all food you eat would be cold. The question is not, would you rather only eat warm food versus only eat cold food? You can eat whatever you want, but it'll only ever be one temperature. So
Yeah,
she,
we got it. So
she brings up as an example, if you choose warm, that seems great, but all ice cream you eat
is
the rest of your life,
warm.
it's
Yeah.
melted.
Oh.
Yeah, soda will be warm.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
Steak will be cold.
Wait, soda will be warm?
Yes.
Oh, God.
I
Oh dear God,
Yeah,
no.
Now that's a serious problem.
I think I gotta go cold because like even when I eat leftovers, I tend to not reheat them because I don't like microwaved food.
What are you
I think-
talking about? You don't like microwave?
I don't like food out of the microwave.
So if I like heat it up like some Chinese food,
I would rather eat the Chinese food cold. Like I would rather eat cold fried
Like
rice.
he's in a detective movie.
Exactly.
Standing in front
Straight
of
out
the
of the refrigerator.
chopsticks.
So I think
Ooh,
I
a
would go
clue.
cold.
I'll
Yeah.
be damned. I always think
Not to say I don't like hot food now. I just want to make that clear. Is that
your
understood?
Southerners coming out. No, it's not to say I don't like hot food now.
No, it's not to say.
Lottie.
I'd go warm.
Yeah.
And I always think of this example of warm, like heat brings out the flavor in food. So if you want a more flavorful
true.
experience, which is like, well, I don't know if that's necessarily true. And then Adam Carolla, God Among Men, came up with a great analogy. I don't know if it's an analogy, but example of,
Or great.
look, if you had to eat dog crap, objectively a terrible thing to eat, would you rather have it ice cold or hot? The answer is cold.
you're not
Therefore,
eating
for good
dog
food,
crap.
you want all good food hot.
That's a bad analogy.
I
terrible.
think it's beautiful. I think
It's
it
a
works
terrible
out well.
example. It
It's-
has no bearing on
If
it.
I've said it once, I've said it again. Stop listening to that man.
He had some interesting ideas. Jeff Cork?
Warm.
Yes.
It's like,
But
no
you-
contest.
No ice cream, no milk, no good ice cream, no good milkshakes.
I can't remember the last time I had ice cream.
But Dippin' Dots, can you heat those up?
They are the ice cream of the future.
Once and for all.
That's right.
What's your
Dan?
answer,
You
Dan?
just have to lick these little
I mean, I
circles.
hate the fact that not having cold soda is going to kill me, but I got to go warm.
Yeah.
It's just like thinking about cold steak and cold burgers and cold dogs. Ugh.
Ugh. And there's already enough cold, icy, heartless soul in Dan's life.
There is.
What do you guys like for email of the week?
I like the
Cutscenes.
one about load times in Madden games.
You know,
That's such a bizarre
I
question.
do kind of as well.
I also I like the one about like the sequel quality of life.
I do too. I do too.
That's
That's Inchronaut with that one. Brandon from Iowa is Madden.
Yeah, I think
I'm
the
leaning-
shoutcasting one had a really satisfying payoff. So there's that too.
I think in theory that one could have been good, but we never got a payoff. So
That's very true.
you can blame Leo for that
We'll
one.
give him another shot next week.
My mic was off. Sorry.
We heard you tearing it up comedically in there. I'm leaning towards Madden as well.
It's just a very bizarre and yet interesting question.
And there's no payoff for it really either, but I'm up for giving it to him.
Cork, you want to get on my team here?
What's
So we
your quality of life?
Yeah, the quality of
I
life.
like that
improvement.
too.
Cork, I need you to choose the
Madden or quality of life?
I think quality of life.
All right, so now it's 2-2.
we're gonna have to
break
flip.
the tie.
Yeah, Leo can break it.
Leo. Madden or quality of life?
The shoutcasting one.
That's ironclad. All right, boys.
Madden.
Leo, Madden.
Madden.
There we
All
go. Brandon from Iowa. We'll ship you out something real nice. Get ready for that.
You can take one from Cork Stack, maybe.
Absolutely. As for now, do you guys want to stick around and talk about the most exciting things for Gamescom?
I want nothing more than to do that.
Yeah.
Here we
leaving.
go. And welcome back to the Game Informer Show again. I'm still here. Leo insisted on being on mic one more time.
Sorry.
He has some more things to hate on. We have Elise Favis
Hey.
and Jeff Cork's still here.
Yep.
Gamescom
Sorry.
2017.
Uh-huh.
Last week, you guys spent what probably felt like a year and a half in Germany.
A
Beautiful
very
Cologne.
long, epic journey.
Was it too much, Elise?
Well, it was long, but it was good.
Let's set the stage real quick.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It was me. It was Elise. It was JV. So how long do you think it felt?
Wow. Okay.
No,
Oh.
you're good.
But it evened out
She's
too.
cool.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What was the coolest thing you learned about Elise on the trip?
What did I learn about Elise? I learned that when she was growing up, she lived in France for a while,
I did.
and that they had
Mon
a very
ami.
small car, and they would park the car halfway on.
Did you get those
curb.
photos I sent you?
I got this
Okay.
photo she sent me.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's more than
Okay.
anyone knew. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Elise, did you have a good time over there?
I did. I had a great time. Yeah.
And Leo, as their leading expert on Germany, what did you think about their trip?
Bitte.
Wonderbar.
Wunderbar.
So we're kind of going to do this as a mini E3 thing
Yes.
because Gamescom is about half as exciting as E3. So we're going to talk about top 3 things
Yeah.
from Gamescom.
Yep.
So Elise, give me your number 3 for
Okay,
exciting
so
thing.
my third one's kind of silly, and it's a mix of two things.
I got a silly one here.
Oh. Okay, so it's two things. The first one is watching Cork's face when he was watching Death Note.
Mm.
It was just a man. You looked like you were at a funeral, bud.
Yeah.
Because it was also like I'm being forced to watch some anime adaptation.
so-
I don't know what the original
Yeah,
is.
one evening, basically, JV Cork and I, we decided to sit down and check out the Death Note film.
Yeah.
After
Film.
our whatever you want to call it. So, we did that, and Cork's just, he was
Horror?
dismal the whole time.
It's like Game of Thrones, Leo.
Oh boy.
And my other thing is JV. He basically threw an apple up in the air, tried to catch it again, but it hit him in the face.
So he was trying to be like Aladdin, like bounce it
was
off his elbow, except it just
Kind
got
of hilarious
lodged in
because
his
he was
mouth.
trying to be cool, but it failed miserably,
Oh
and
my
I just
God.
died of laughter. It was like at 6 a.m. too.
Is that why he chickened out of appearing on this podcast?
I
His
think
mouth is
probably he knew that I was going to say something embarrassing. So
Yeah, I think that's fair. For me, my number 3, from watching from afar, if I may interject, Ubisoft announced Anno 1800.
Mhm.
I understand. People don't care too much about the Anno series.
are you a fan? Of,
I'm not a fan of the games,
Uh-huh.
but I'm a fan of this fact that is so bizarre. And Idle Thumbs is also obsessed with it, which is a podcast I really enjoy. Did you guys know every Anno game, they're all based on different years?
Mhm.
The numbers in the years for every release since 1998 add up to 9.
I know this. Yeah,
It's such
friggin'
a weird video game tradition. So this is Anno 1800. The original one was Anno 1602.
Mhm.
Then it was Anno 1503,
Mhm.
Anno 1701, Anno 1404, Anno 2070, Anno 2205, and now Anno 1800. It's just such a weird rhythm to get stuck in for naming video games. Like,
bizarre.
they always have to add up to 9. They shall be 9.
9, as the Germans say.
9.
So they can't do anything after the year 9000. It'll
Yeah.
always add up to more.
Well,
That's
luckily,
too
there's
bad.
nothing after the year 9000, as we all know. Jeff Cork,
Yes.
number 3.
Hey. I don't know. I was impressed overall with EA's lineup, which is just kind of a big ball.
You were?
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm surprised.
as was I.
Why? What do they got?
They had that Fee game. Fee,
Oh, the one that everyone
Fo.
wanted to crap at from E3 1
Yeah.
or 2 years ago?
E3
Yeah.
2015, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was a lot different than I was expecting. I was expecting it to be more like Ori and the Blind Forest, very superficially similar, but it looks like a cool adventure game.
It seemed like they were pitching it back at E3 at least as kind of more open, maybe a little
Yeah.
more Minecraft-y, survival-y.
Yes.
Is that
I
the
don't know
angle
about, I don't
here?
know about
Sort of.
Minecraft-y
Okay.
survival-y, but
It's
certainly
supposed to
more
have
open.
a lot of similarities, though, to Ori and the Blind Forest.
But 3D.
More than, yeah.
All right. It's their little artsy project. It's the new Unraveled.
Yeah, I thought Battlefront 2 played the Starfighter Assault. That was cool.
Okay.
I enjoyed that a
Is
lot.
it true that Yoda flies a starfighter in that?
Yeah.
That's very silly. Has he ever been known as a pilot?
That's kind
Does
of
that
his
happen?
thing. He
in-
wears like a little bomber jacket and has sunglasses.
Yeah.
In Clone Wars, does he fly?
I don't know.
Well, he's a plucky rogue who does whatever the situation asks for.
Yeah. And I think Sims 4, I'm very excited about that.
Really?
On console, but I'm not excited in the way that they probably want me to be excited. I'm excited because I'm like, oh, I should really download The Sims 4 on my PC
You should.
because then I get all the expansions.
Another
and
thing
stuff.
Quark learned about me was that I played like every single Sims game.
Like when
What
we were
about herbs?
we were going
I
back
played
to our
herbs.
Herbs
I
in the
have.
city.
I did.
Oh my god.
On my Game Boy.
All right, good
Uh-huh.
stuff. It seems like Sims 4 is one of those cases where we could go back to it after everyone on release.
Mhm.
At least you probably know this better.
Uh-huh.
On the release, everyone said that Sims 3 is better.
Yeah.
Is Sims 4 now at a point where it's the one to go to?
I don't think so. I think 3 and 2 are still better,
Yeah.
personally.
All right, but still fun to have on consoles.
It's still cool with like all the emotions and stuff that they brought in The Sims 4.
Yeah, like disappointment.
Disappointing. Hilarious.
Thank you. Good
All
one. Elise, number 2.
All right, so I guess I should actually talk about games now.
I don't have to, but go for it.
No. So my number 2 is Cuphead, which I got to do some hands-on with. I took quite a bit of time with it, actually. I think about like half an hour, 40 minutes. I got to play a boss battle co-op with one of the developers that jumped in, another story level co-op, and one on my own.
So you also captured it. We have 10 minutes of gameplay
I do
up on our channel and
on our
YouTube,
website.
and it's doing surprisingly well on YouTube. And it seems like a majority of the comments are saying, my God, the artistic style of this game is still like a 15 out of 10, and the gameplay looks like a solid 3 out of 10.
I enjoyed the gameplay personally.
Okay.
It's tough. It's like run and gun Contra kind of thing, which you're giving me faces, Hanson.
I mean, it's like if they
it's not
reskinned.
anything. Look. It's not anything spectacular gameplay wise. Like the thing that really stood out was this is tough. You know. But what really does stand out is its presentation. You know, like it's 1930s cartoon style.
It looks unbelievable, but I just worry that I'm going to get into the habit of actually playing it, and it's going to be.
Yeah.
I had fun with it,
Okay.
and I feel like it's a thing. Like, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
So.
Leo, are you looking forward to Cuphead?
I don't know. It kind of looks like a alien hominid to me, but pretty.
What the hell are you talking
I feel like
about?
I've already gotten all the enjoyment I'm going to get out of Cuphead by seeing it in trailers.
That could be. You don't want to beat your head against a wall while trying to actually play it and
Yeah.
beat those old bosses.
Also, I wasn't around when there were 1930s cartoons. I don't have a lot of nostalgia for that.
We just call them cartoons.
Yeah, but
Leo.
it looks so cool.
My number 2 would have to be Jurassic World Evolution. We talked about it a lot on Replay last week, but Frontier from Roller Coaster Tycoon fame and Elite Dangerous, strangely enough, they're making a new Jurassic World sim for PC, Xbox One, PS4, which is very exciting. The idea of making a kind of sort of spiritual successor to Operation Genesis, which we just played on Replay. But I have high hopes, and there's that snobby PC part of me that would almost be more hopeful for it if it didn't have that console attached to it, because I worry about somehow just having it released on consoles as well is going to kind of dumb it down, as
There you
PC
go.
snobs might say, or at least tweak with the control interface in a way. But I just want a hardcore sim, and I love that they're taking advantage of this very natural setup. Maybe like the success of City Skylines convinced people, old Moneybags Universal, to finally get it rolling over there. But super exciting.
Planet Coaster, too. Very successful.
There we go. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, for a Steam game, pretty small team.
yeah. Do you play that one?
I haven't.
Okay.
Meaning to.
Great.
Sorry.
I love it. Jeff Cork, what's your number 2, baby?
I think just the overall spectacle of Gamescom is I always forget about that. Just the number of people that go through there. I think they released the numbers. It was 350,000 people,
Jesus.
which
Fucking
comparison
insane.
that little tiny turd that is E3 is 68,400. Give me
I
a
could wipe
break.
my butt with those
I don't
people.
even wake up for 68,400 people. Get out of here. And the way it's arranged is nice because they have the first day, which is for business and press, so you can kind of get your bearings, see stuff on the show floor before it is inundated by hundreds of thousands of Europeans.
You get the best of both worlds.
You get the best of both worlds,
Yeah.
baby, and it's very exciting because there is something that's a lot of fun about having like just people from the public just checking out games, because that is awesome. Kind of like the reason that PAX exists, but just on a much, much grander scale.
Yeah, I think it's so obvious that Gamescom has been doing this kind of like fan-based, kind of consumer-based show. Like they have so much more of an edge over E3 with it, like it just seems like they know so much more what they're doing.
Well, that's the thing. It seemed like the big takeaway
Like-
from E3 was that whoever runs E3 should look to Gamescom as far as like how to get public
Absolutely.
efficiently in and out of that place.
Yeah. And it's a huge convention center. They have
Yeah.
like dozens of halls filled with stuff and people.
If you want to see it with a Game Informer twist, we did a tour at Gamescom 2013 with Ben Reeves and Tim Turry, which is very fun to go watch.
Oh,
if you're into
neat.
time-lapse footage of crowds moving, then it's going to be the tour for you. It's a very silly time. Good. I'm glad you still enjoyed it after all these years, Cork.
How many Gamescoms have you been to now?
8, 9.
Damn.
A couple.
Damn, boy. Elise, was this your first?
Second.
Second. Okay.
Yes,
Are
I
you
went
hooked?
last year.
Do you want to go again?
I like it. I like going to Germany. Yeah, why
Okay.
not?
Well, who wouldn't like going to Germany when you see this number one thing at Gamescom that you saw that was so exciting that you're just so eager to talk about?
Shadow of War
Interesting.
Yes.
Why Shadow of War?
is the game I had the most fun with, honestly.
What did they show? What was the
Well, I
setup
did. I
there?
did a hands-on. For 30-40 minutes, I got to explore the open world. I did one of those like siege fortress takedowns,
Mhm.
which were a lot of fun, actually. I was kind of, I guess, kind of apprehensive going in a little bit because I enjoyed Shadow of Mordor, but like it takes place in Mordor again. And I was just like, is this going to be like just as bleak as it was the first time? But they seem to be, bringing a lot more into that open world. And the fortresses were pretty cool.
Did you happen to fight a Balrog by chance?
No. I
Uh,
did ride a grog. though, and
Big
I
old
did
ogre guy.
ride a dragon, which was freaking amazing.
Technically, Drake's.
Drake's is the
It's all
actual
very
term.
nerdy and confusing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know. The fortress stuff was cool, but like going in, the developer beside me, he was like, "All right, like, what's your favorite playstyle?" And I was like, "I enjoy stealth."
A little personal.
I don't know. And he was just like, "Oh, like you can't really do stealth with these missions." I was kind of like, "Oh, okay."
What was he asking about?
Well, because we're going into we're doing a castle raid.
Yeah.
So you go in, you stomp the doors down, and you
Do you like action or super action?
super action. Anyway, it was fun.
Yeah.
I had a good time killing orcs, and what's cool is there's more focus on like actually building your army now, right? Because they've forged a new ring of power.
Everyone's talking about it.
Yeah, so now you're like actually changing allegiances of orcs and bringing them on your side and building an army and raiding all these different fortresses.
Yeah, and that
pretty
game's
cool.
coming out as soon as like October 10th, so I'd
Yeah.
imagine we'll be talking a lot about it in the future. So look forward to that.
Yes.
Good one. Last week's episode, we talked a fair bit around it, but I feel like we never really dove into the announcement of Age of Empires 4, which would be my number one. I feel like ever since E3, probably even before that, I've been screaming, they're going to announce a new Age of Empires. It's happening. Then E3, they so heavy-handedly hinted that like Gamescom are going to announce it, and it was so exciting to finally get the reveal. Age of Empires 4. Cork, it's been a very long time since the last Age of Empires game.
Yeah.
We got you out of the psychiatric hospital. We condemned you too.
And so, not including Age of Empires Online, like Age of Empires 3 was 2005 with the last big release. And so it's exciting, confusing because the studio that made it isn't around anymore. And so more confusing when you think about the fact that they are getting Relic Entertainment, the Dawn of War folks, the Company of Heroes folks, to make this. Because when you think about it, Microsoft keeps pulling from Sega's RTS talent to make their RTS franchises. It's this bizarre flow of companies, right? Because they just had Halo Wars 2 from Creative Assembly. They had them make that, and now they're pulling from Sega's other company with Relic to make the new Age of Empires. So I also had no idea until people were commenting on the interview from last week that apparently in Age of Empires 3, the special edition, they laid it all out that Ensemble envisioned Age of Empires 4 as World War II, Age of Empires 5 as sci-fi. So now the conundrum for Relic, and specifically, I'd imagine the game director is going to be this Quinn Duffy guy, who's the director of Company of Heroes 2, because he was in the video talking about how exciting Age of Empires is. But other than that, they haven't revealed much. But the conundrum for them is like, well, do we go with Ensemble's original vision and make a World War II game, even though we've made 2 Company of Heroes games already? Would that be too redundant? And with so much time passing, would they want to be more conservative and just make like a classic Age of Empires games because that's what people would expect? And since they're a new studio working on it, you'd think you'd want to be conservative as possible. It's an odd flow, but also Joe Staten from formerly of Bungie, now Microsoft, was in that video as well. So in theory, he's probably involved in some point on a story level. So I think it's an interesting little story, and I'm excited for Age of Empires 4. Jeff Cork, what's your number one?
Oh, Jesus. I would say I like big fan of maybe a certain character in Overwatch named Junkrat. He's got a new map coming out.
Junkerton.
Yeah, Junkerton, and Junkrat's good buddy Roadhog. So that was announced somewhere in the window of Gamescom.
Yeah.
So I like that. And then also, the May short was nice. So it was just a nice time to be an Overwatch player.
So you were very on board for that very depressing May short where everybody she knows and loves dies.
Yes. I wanted to see what was inside those gross tubes. Like, is
Yeah.
it just like a stew with a skull resting on top, or?
Yeah, especially because one was called McCready, which is a nice little thing reference there. I want to see what their version of McCready looks like instead of
Open
just
that
McCready.
tube.
Open the tube, man. Is
Yeah.
it too much to ask?
Sure.
When does that map come out?
I don't know.
cares?
Fantastic. Leo,
Yeah.
you're a big Overwatch man, right?
It's on the PTR right now, right?
Oh, is that right?
Or it's coming very soon if it's not out now. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's, yeah. I mean,
I feel like it's kind of a Mad Max aesthetic. I feel like, isn't that one section of Hollywood kind of get that old Western sandy vibe already?
yeah.
Or even Route 66, I just feel
Mhm.
like there's already enough of kind of like the Westernish maps. I don't know if...
All right. I'd like to amend what I thought I liked.
It'd be nice. Just say you had a good time with Elise.
Something
and we'll call it
about
a day.
Ensemble Studios and Relic or whatnot.
Just say you want an underwater one or
Yeah,
something.
make it
cool.
underwater.
Perfect. All right. What a wonderful time.
It was real glorious.
Gamescom 2017.
Had real nice pretzels.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Soft, chewy, and some melted cheese on it.
That's your favorite
delicious.
German food? Is just a big old pretzel?
Big old pretzel.
Tough to beat. Thank you so much for joining me throughout the episode. Leo, thank you for being here. You sweet, sweet angel. And that's it for this episode of the Game Informer Show. Be sure to tune in next Thursday. We'll have a new episode waiting for you. And until then, we'll see ya. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
You wearing a Stonehenge t-shirt?
I am. I decided to change things up. So no social distortion or 80s throwback shirt today. We're going to Stonehenge.
Very few offensive Archer t-shirts. This is just...
I do have those. I do enjoy my offensive Archer t-shirts. by
Why
the way.
Stonehenge? What
In
attracts you to
fact,
Stonehenge?
I just got a new one. I got the Gummy Bear and Scotch one. I'll wear that to the office next week. Anyway,
I don't know
wait.
if that's appropriate.
Stonehenge. I mean, this is sort of just tapping into the solar eclipse we had recently. you
How
know,
so?
Just sort of getting into that whole thing. I like it. It's an ancient calendar clock thing, right? Like,
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Is it? Do we know?
Are you interested?
It's theorized.
Am I interested in what?
Stonehenge?
I don't know. I'd see it if it was in the out across the street and someone said, "Hey, Stonehenge is here today." I'd be like, all right,
But we've been to England like
Going on
5
tour.
times. So I
Yeah.
guess we've never gone out of our way to go visit Stonehenge.
You should do it next time you're there.
Have you been?
I haven't. I want to be.
I heard you were born there.
No,
You
you
can't
heard
talk
wrong.
about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can talk about. We have. The funny thing is, we have talked about that. That has definitely come up. I don't know if you were there, but that's certainly.
What are you
not
talking
a-
about?
I don't know. What are you talking about?
Dan, what are you referring to when you say it has come up?
Can I?
Jeff Cork's gone. All right, let's restart.
I don't think we have to restart the whole thing.
No, I think it's great.
All right, Dan Tech.
We got a little off track.
What Dan Tech's referring to is Dan Tech's lovely parents came in the office, and
They
his
did.
mom, who I won't do an impersonation of, but she's very funny. She's like, Dan Tech was born in St. Paul, Minnesota.
That's correct.
And he said, I don't think he's ever mentioned that before. And then
I
he said, I
guarantee-
talk about it all the time. But you'd think that would have come up
I
before.
didn't say I talk about it all the time. Who talks about their birthplace all the time, right? But it has
Jeff
come
Cork
up.
never shuts up about Alaska.
Providence Hospital, Anchorage, Alaska, 1973.
My favorite part of your parents visiting the office, Dan, and I understand you desperately don't want to talk about this.
Yeah,
Is there
which
a
is why
certain-
you're bringing it up.
I know at a certain point I said, hey, what's the deal? Dan Tack keeps cryptically referring to the fact that he has a longer version of his last name that Tack's like a shortened version of his original last name. What is that original last name? And your mom very confidently said, oh, that's not true. He's a bullcrap artist.
Well, she did say that. However, it's not her last name that we're talking about. So
So you're saying that your mom is misinformed about this last name?
I'm maintaining that status. Yes,
Sometimes
Jesus
mothers and fathers
Christ.
have different last names.
Oh, wait, but your father was there.
he was.
Didn't say a word.
He did not.
So you're saying that there is in fact a longer version. Your mom does not know about the name. Tack.
I'm trying to get to the bottom of this, and I will give you an update when I do.
I'm going to hold true to your mom's creed that this is a sheer bullcrap artistry.
Okay.
All right. He said it.